the Leafs Line podcast. Today it's episode 14, and I'm Jared Rotenberg, and I'm going to be the one taking over the hosting seat for today. And I'm hosting this show. With me, we have Mario Russo, Evan Davis, and of course, Adamo Ramon. Now on to our intro discussion. This one's completely not related to hockey. It's just something I could not sleep last night. It was a topic that was on my mind, and I'm like, screw it. I can't think of anything else. This is how we're starting off the show. So if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge nature guy, a huge animal guy. And one of my all-time favorite internet debates is that classic who would win in a fight to the death with a gorilla or a grizzly bear. But at this point, that trend is kind of no longer relevant. No one's really talking about it anymore. So that got me thinking, what fight in the animal kingdom would gather more interest from an entertainment standpoint? And what I'm asking is, if you were to plan a Saturday night fight in Las Vegas, you're partnering up with Dana White, what two animals would you select to duke it out? And I need a well thought out reason why. So we're going to start off with Mario Russo.
Oh, I'm not the one to start it off. You guys are lucky. You guys get to think it over.
Thanks, Mario. We
right
love
on
you.
The spot. This is what it feels like now, being not being the host. If I had to go with one, two animals rather, it would be. I'd like to see. I would love to give more thought to this. I think if I did, it'd be much more accurate. But off the top of my head, I would really like to see a tiger maul a penguin. Just for the jokes.
Oh.
I don't know.
So you're going with not even a fair matchup.
Not even a fair matchup. I want to see domination in the ring. That is on my bucket list.
Jesus.
But if you give me more thought,
a gruesome one.
I got to hear Adamo though.
Wild.
This guy definitely has something stirring, man. I don't even want to know.
We're moving on to Mr. Adamo Ramoli.
You know, Jared knows I'm not a nature guy because our Ottawa trip, when so basically on our Ottawa trip, our train back, the Via Rail got stalled, and so we were probably sitting there, in the middle of literally nowhere, no phone service or barely any phone service. So Jared goes to me, let's play a game where we just name a bunch of animals with I
forgot about that.
Where the letters,
The alphabet.
Oh
yeah,
my God,
letters.
this went on for ages.
We swear to God, we did it for probably 2 hours straight. It absolutely killed the break, which was good. And Jared's naming a red-tailed zebra or something like that. It's real. He knows what he's talking about. I had no clue. I was out to lunch, so I'm a little stumped right now. I think I'm gonna go. Is this in a ring?
Yeah, you're. What my mindset was from an entertainment standpoint, what is going to gather the most attention? Maybe something that young kids constantly have an interest in. They're growing up with this attachment to that animal. Just that's kind of what I was thinking of. What's something that's going to gather the most attention?
Okay, so I think a cheetah would be pretty cool just because how fast it is. I don't know if it's reflexes are fast, but super fast. Running around the ring.
Yeah, it's quick, so I'll give you that.
I think that'd be cool, and then put it against a polar bear, two
heavyweight tilt.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, polar bear would destroy. I think polar bear would absolutely dominate. Polar bears are the biggest bears.
Yeah, they're menaces.
Cheetahs aren't even that. Sorry, I watched a full video. It's this account on YouTube. I don't even know what it's called, but it basically rips apart your favorite animals. People comment one animal, and it's nope, that animal's actually horrible and it's stupid. I found out so much facts about how cheetahs are the dumbest animals ever, and how they're aside basically their speed kills them is what I found out. It's they're too fast, but they actually lose energy so quickly and they get destroyed. So I found out they aren't even that strong. So I completely had cheetahs ruined for me. But now on to Mr. Bet99, and I wrote a special segue for Evan Davis because I want you to give me the betting odds here because Evan Davis, he runs his own TikTok account called Bet99 Sportsbook. So I want you to give me the two animals and you tell me the betting odds of who would win.
Thank you for that. God, I would really want to see. This is so stupid, but I want to see an alpaca. I don't know why. I
want to give you
okay.
They're just it's such an interesting animal. I can't I want
spit on people. You spit on people.
I want to see an alpaca versus an orangutan, and the only reason I just think it's the two most interesting animals that I've seen at the zoo and stuff. And actually, an alpaca, an orangutan peed on me once when I was at the zoo. So now I want to see him get absolutely clobbered in the ring.
So by an alpaca though, it's gonna maybe stomp on it. I don't even know.
I'd go Alpaca's attack.
I can have my belief. I can have my beliefs in my
No, I
imaginary
respect
ring.
it. But what? Tell me what the betting odds are. What are the betting odds?
I gotta know.
I want the alpaca to fucking stomp him. So I'll put the alpaca. We'll put it minus 215.
Ooh, it's pretty high.
We'll put the orangutan at. We'll put him at plus 155.
I like those odds at plus 155 at the money line.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Over under what 3.5?
Yeah, we'll take the over under at 3.5. We'll put that line at minus 115.
Am I the only one here who hasn't been to a zoo? I have never been to.
You've been to the zoo?
I have never been to the zoo ever.
Like it's horrible for the animals. I think it's horrible for the animals. Like now that I'm older, I understand that it's not a good thing. But growing up, I loved the zoo. My family every summer, we lived at the zoo.
Dude, I never realized like how it's almost like a prison, basically. Like,
oh no, it's horrible for them. Like it's such a confined space. But I could go off for a long time, especially the marine ones. Like those ones, because those ones have the whole open ocean, and then they're trapped in a swimming pool.
Yeah,
those are horrible.
That's a discussion for another for a different podcast.
Yeah, that's the animal rights one. Sponsored by PETA.
They're fun. I'll say that.
Peter Griffin?
Oh, but still, zoos they're a ton of fun. But like now that I'm older, I understand that they aren't a good thing. But I think like me and Jory have planned over the summer we want to go to the zoo at some point. It was just a fun day. It's horrible. I'm old enough to recognize it's bad, but like the zoo is awesome.
Is it me? I was gonna say, is it me or did your family always go to the zoo on like the hottest day possible?
Oh, bro. Yeah. You had to sit under the shade. You had to.
Yeah, I can't think of a warm day or like just a nice breezy day at the zoo that I've ever been.
Well, I also just think like it's like at least the LA Zoo is like just in the middle of nowhere where it's always humid. Like the humidity.
Where's the Toronto one? Do you guys know? I've been to the Toronto Zoo. I just don't remember.
I've been to Toronto Zoo, but I don't know exactly location-wise.
I think it's out east, if I'm not mistaken, like Scarborough almost.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'll take your word on it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I know Marineland's Niagara, but regardless, before we move on to the real talk, the fight I'm thinking of, I kind of like a Damas polar bear answer. However, the difference is while polar bears are bigger, I think grizzly bears are way more aggressive. Because polar bears live out in the middle of nowhere in the Arctic, like they hunt seals and whatever. Grizzly bears are literally killing machines. Like they constantly are interacting with people, whatever. So those things are scary as fuck. That's the reason I think a grizzly bear would dominate a gorilla. But I'm going grizzly bear. But I think I put it up against a tiger, the biggest big cat against the biggest bear. Or sorry, not the biggest bear, but the most aggressive bear. I think that is a fight to the death. Honestly, I'd maybe even give the grizzly bear the win there. I think they're literally just natural born killing machines. I think I'm going grizzly bear all day. I'm hammering those odds. But now, speaking of fighting, onto the real talk, the Leafs have been the team fighting, constantly having to fight their way. They've been up in games, and teams have fought their way back, and ultimately we've been failing to hold on to our leads, with a 3-1 lead being blown in their past 2 games, as well as a 4-1 lead being blown in the game before. Now, the Leafs finished off their Western Conference road trip with a 2-1-1 record. However, many concerning signs began to emerge during this trip. Are these signs something that's going to be attributed to nothing more than just a long break with COVID? Or is there genuine reason to panic and fear with the way that the Leafs are playing? So we'll start with Evan Davis.
Yeah, look, honestly, that game against St. Louis, I thought that was such a great game for the Leafs. Like, although it was very back and forth, St. Louis is a really good team. And although their record doesn't show it, Jordan Binnington is an elite goaltender in the NHL. And he can always have nights where he can just turn it on. I mean, it sucks for him that the goal that ended up losing them the game was that Ilya Mikheyev shot, because I just thought that it really didn't define the way that he played. But the one thing that really stood out to me was just Mitch Marner and the way that he was able to reinsert himself back into the lineup. I mean, that pass that he made behind the net to Austin Matthews, I think only a few players can make that pass, and also just have the awareness to kind of fake out Binnington and then find Matthews perfectly right in the slot area. I thought that was great. And I was talking to Mario. He was saying like, oh, I should have bet on the Leafs. And I said, the one thing you don't do is bet on the Leafs because they are so unpredictable. And I mean, it was such an up and down game. I believe they were down by 2 at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then they clawed their way back, and then they were down, and then they were back. It was just a great game. And you could see the bench's reaction after Mikheyev's goal. I mean, I just thought that was such a great win for the Leafs, and to finally be on the other side of such a tight game to the finish, I just think that was really great by them.
Well, interesting that you're going more with the positive side. Well, yes, I do agree with you. The fact that it was great that we ended up coming out on the winning side, which actually is something we have done for a lot of the year. We've had games where we've blown leads, but we have been able to get them back aside from one. We only have one loss in a game where we're going into the third with a lead. But I personally, for me, I don't know. I think it's, as much as I'm not ready to hit the panic button or anything, I do think there are concerning signs kind of popping up in the Leafs game right now. So that's kind of what I want to get close on and talk to you guys about, because I just think, I don't know, the way we're playing right now, it's not the team that we saw earlier in the season. And that's my question more, like, what is the reason for the Leafs falling back into these habits? Is it as simple as just we missed a lot of time due to COVID? Or are there other concerning signs? So, Evan, you have something.
Yeah, one more thing before you go to Mario and Adamo. I think the one issue as of late is that they're giving up too many goals. Like we've noticed in these last couple of games, they gave up 5, it was to St. Louis. You know, they gave up 4 to a disgruntled Vegas team. They gave up 5 to Colorado. Like they're just, in order to win games, you gotta be able to only muster up like 2 to 3 goals against. Like that should be the ideal. And I just think the reason why that their panic button might be setting in is because they're giving up too many goals.
Yeah, and I think that's true as well. And as much as I don't put the blame on Jack Campbell for the game,
no, that's just a whole defensive issue.
I don't think it was a thing on Campbell, but I think absolutely the defense left him out to dry there, because there was multiple chances where, I know the first one for sure, it was Ryan O'Reilly in alone. Then they said multiple times where it was like we'd have a giveaway in our zone, and they'd be alone on Campbell. What's he supposed to do there? And I don't put the blame on him for letting in 5. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're definitely leaving our goalie out to dry more. We're not playing as strong of a defensive game, I'm finding, as maybe we were playing earlier in the season when we were very hot. And it's definitely started to show in our game that maybe we've loosened up a little bit, is what I'll say. So now I'll move on to Mario. Kind of, what are your thoughts? Is it something that it's a little bit of a game blip, like a few game blip, and we're going to get back into it? Or is it something that we have to kind of put the warning signs up a little bit and start fixing our game big time?
Yeah, so I'm really tired of using excuses. I found this year, I don't think it's worthwhile. I think last year there were so many things that we were trying to excuse, and none of it happened because of our first round playoff exit. So I don't want to go the excuse route, saying COVID was it. Obviously plays a role, but it's not the way. It shouldn't result into the reason why they're playing like this. I think it's a lack of playing 60 minutes. It's I haven't seen them in quite a while right now. And obviously the COVID, the pause in the season is going to do that. But I haven't seen them play a full game where you're like, man, this team looks dangerous. I was watching, and this is going to be totally unrelated, but I was watching the Rams last night football, and I'm watching them and like, man, this team is like complete dangerous. They're not letting the opposition do. The Arizona Cardinals, give them credit, they're not a garbage team. They deserve to be in the playoffs. They're not good, but they're not ridiculous. It shouldn't be blown out like they were last night, but they took it to them. Like, this is what I want to see, more winning habits. I know we say it all year. It's going to come into almost everything I say, because it should be. Every team, especially with Stanley Cup aspirations like the Leafs, should have winning habits. You're looking at a full 60 minutes they have not played in quite a while. Look at the defensive efforts like you mentioned, Evan. So many goals, and if you watch the tapes, I've been watching a Vegas Leafs tape for forever because of our highlight package that we have to do for our program. But no, you watch those goals, the goals against in the Colorado game where they got outskilled, but look at all the space that other guys have. They're so open. There's so much places for them to move, so much place in front of the net. Like Jake Muzzin, I know he's out with the concussion now, but he has really struggled over this last stretch of games. Justin Hall, although he stepped it up a bit on the offensive side, defense is still a bit of a mess. I think this defensive core is a bit of a mess, and they need some help at the trade deadline. I don't think it's worth, to answer your question, Jared, obviously. I know I've been working around it a bit, but I don't think it's time to panic. I don't think I've ever seen a team try to panic after a win. That's where I found a little bit uneven, but definitely stuff that we shouldn't be doing is settling back in. And you have to be a little bit more hard on them if you're Keith. There has to be a lot more sort of the hard hand, the heavy hand. You can't be letting this stuff keep on happening, because if it does, 2 blown leads are going to turn to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Like, it's going to come and pile up so much that you're not going to have enough to do with. And you don't want to see them go into a situation like they were at the beginning of the year. That's number one that you do not want to do. So let's get it on them now. We were saying this last week too. Let's get on their butt now and start getting these problems, washing them out, because you can't be having this if you're a contending team. And it's getting a little bit ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and I completely agree. So just looking at the record since returning from the COVID break, like if someone were to want to use that as an excuse, we actually do have a good record since that. We're 4-1-1 since returning from the break. However, but the thing I'm going to want to point out is the fact that despite the fact that we are coming away with wins, we aren't playing complete 60-minute hockey, as you said. And I think it's definitely better to kind of get on them now and start figuring out how to get back to playing full hockey, because we were earlier in the season. I mean, after obviously we had a bad October, but in November, we definitely found a way to kind of smother our opponents and play full hockey games. And we were playing some of the best hockey that I've ever seen from our team. But now since returning from that long break, which obviously admittedly it got us kind of out of our groove, despite us having a good record, I think we've definitely fallen back into our old habits. It's definitely not time to panic and worry. I don't agree there. I agree with you there, but I don't agree with the panic of the fan base. I think it's not time to panic. However, it's definitely time, like you said, to get Sheldon Keefe to kind of get the group back to being dialed in. Obviously, when you're going to have a break like that in the middle of the season, it's going to obviously disrupt your season a little bit. We're seeing that right now despite the fact that we're getting wins, we aren't playing perfect hockey right now. There's a long season ahead. I mean, we're less than halfway into the season. So there's a lot of time left. Kind of everyone needs to get back dialed in, get their heads back in the game. A lot of time to go, but we need to figure out a way to play better, because the way we're playing right now, despite us getting the wins, I don't see us looking like a contender right now. I think in general, we are a contender. However, we aren't playing like one right now, and we definitely have a lot more to give, and I'm very excited to see us give that. So now on to Adamo. Kind of what are your thoughts on how we've played in the last few games, blowing a lot of leads, falling into old habits, just all that stuff?
Well, you guys talk about the COVID break and how, the reason this isn't happening, they're not playing well is because, they haven't played in a while. But I think we're dancing around it. You guys have all said it. It's the COVID break. It's the COVID break. The reason it was the COVID break is because they all had COVID. Yeah, COVID is a respiratory illness where you could tell, we're blowing leads because towards the end of the game, it doesn't look like these guys have conditioning. And it's hard. It's really, I know you don't want to make excuses for this Leafs team because they haven't earned the benefit of the doubt, but I think I've had COVID, but I haven't officially tested positive for COVID. And being sick knocks you on your ass. And the whole team had it, right? The whole team had it. Couples have it right now. So I think that's partially the reason. I think the other reason we're seeing in the St. Louis game is Austin Matthews, although he had a power play goal and a primary assist, I think that was his worst defensive game. And I think we really felt it. And I know we said last time, Mitch Marner, his defensive impact is missing. It talks to the team. Mitch Marner isn't a Selke defensive winner, and he's not the number one center. The defensive impact of a winger versus the defensive impact of a center are two completely different things, especially your number one center. I think we really felt it. But speaking of Mitch Marner, I actually loved his game, and I think he had his best game of the season against St. Louis.
I agree.
And it's because not because he got 2 points, even though, or if we go back to that power play episode where I said, hey, we should move Marner to behind the net, and would you look at where his assist came from? I think he played his best game because he wasn't doing the things that I don't like about Mitch Marner. He gave full defensive effort. He wasn't turning over the puck or doing stupid things with the puck. He wasn't forcing high danger passes that often lead to turnovers. He was being responsible. He had a nice shot. If he could do that more often, that'd be perfect. But that's why Mitch Marner, that was his best game. That was unreal. And I think if we can get that playoff Mitch Marner, this team can go far. This team could go so far. I was so impressed with Mitch Marner's effort that night.
Yeah, and I agree. I think he had a phenomenal game, and I'm very surprised that it was you who were giving me the most positive answer. But yeah, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And that's kind of where I'm finding myself right now. I think there are reasons to kind of excuse how we're playing. That's why I'm not trying to go too hard on them. However, I'm just going to say the fact that we haven't been able to hold on to leads and stuff, it is concerning, not ready to panic, not ready to do any of that. However, it's something that if we keep playing like that, it's going to make me question our group a little bit. but the fact that we were able to come away with the win is a positive sign. The fact that Marner had an unbelievable game is a great sign, because if he could start playing up to his contract, then we're in good shape. And we have a phenomenal group. I'm always the one that's trying my best to be positive about our group. I am getting I don't like the fact that we keep blowing leads. I think that is a concerning sign. It reminds me a lot of the teams of the past. And of course, we know what's happening with the teams of the past. And we don't want, the fact that the group is reminding me of that isn't a good thing. However, I do think, like you're saying, there are reasons to explain why we've not been playing perfect 60-minute hockey. I hope we get back to that. However, things are looking pretty good. The fact that even in that situation, we still have a pretty good record is a good sign. But now, the Leafs aren't the only team that seems to have problems with holding on to leads. So I want to bring up Evan, who mentioned in the group chat last night. Check it off the bingo card mentioning the group chat. Evan Davis, he wanted to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights, who as well last night, they blew a 3-0 first period lead to Pittsburgh Penguins.
How's it feel?
Ultimately, they lost
First time?
the game 5-3. So Evan, just tell us what you think of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad. Look, Vegas looked very dominant in the first period, but then, towards the second, they started taking so many freaking penalties. I'm just what's going on? I thought Vegas used to be a very, disciplined team. Mark Stone's a very disciplined player, Selke finalist, year in and year out. And then it was just, they kept taking all these penalties. And then Pittsburgh's power play is probably, I think it's underrated as maybe one of the top 7 power plays, even top 5, just in terms of the guys that they could bring out. I mean, they got Brian Rust, Evan Rodriguez, and if you want to talk about a steal of a contract, Evan Rodriguez, 1 year, $1 million, homie going to get paid this coming off season. Brian Rust was back. Evgeny Malkin's back. I mean, Pittsburgh's a great team. Jari's playing unbelievable. And Mark Stone even said after the game, the penalties killed them because they had too many guys sitting on the bench during that time. But I think the one issue that I want to wrap up my point by saying is that I think they're playing Robin Leonard too much. I think the last 2 years, Robin Leonard has definitely been used to only playing about maybe 45 to 50 games a season. Obviously, with the Vegas Golden Knights trading Marc-Andre Fleury, his workload has increased. There was more Laurent Brossoit, when Robin Leonard was returning from injury. But I just think that he's getting a little too overworked. I would like to see a little bit more even split. I love Brossoit. I think he can really do well in front of that Vegas Golden Knights team. Once they are fully healthy, Alec Martinez is finally coming off the COVID list. But I think Brossoit is kind of getting undervalued in Vegas. And I think in order for Vegas to go to the Cup, which is obviously their end goal, I think they got to kind of peel back Robin Leonard just a little bit, because he still needs to get reacclimated. He had that incredible 1A. So I think that's maybe a little bit concern there.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And I think it reminds me a lot of even past Leafs teams have seen that, where in other seasons we've had where we're playing Freddie Anderson for such a majority of the season. And then by the time you get to the playoffs, he's burnt out, he's tired. And it's definitely not a smart decision for a team to consistently overwork a goalie. So I think that definitely is a reason to explain why Vegas has maybe been struggling to hold on to leads. It isn't playing as good as maybe you'd expect that roster to play. But overall, I mean, there's multiple teams in the league. No one's going to have a perfect season. Every team, including the eventual Cup champion, is going to have a few games where they're going to have blunders. So I think it's definitely not a reason to panic from a Leafs perspective, not a reason to panic from a Vegas perspective. I think every team is going to have issues. I think that was a very good point explaining kind of the reason that the game ended up falling the way it did. But in general, I think Vegas is still a very good team, and they're only going to get better when Jack Eichel freaking joins that roster. That is actually going to be the most ridiculous roster you'll ever see. But in general, and yeah, I mean, well, yeah, the fact that Vegas is still sitting as one of the top teams in there, well, they're top of the Pacific, but they're one of the top teams in the Western Conference with the amount of injuries they had. It's just such a testament to how good of a group that is. It is a crazy good team. They were last year, they were my pick to end up winning the Cup, and of course, those freaking Montreal Canadiens just breaking every single hope and dream I've had last year, at least. But in general, I think Vegas, they definitely have the pieces that they could get back going on a playoff run and could even end up making the finals and hopefully ending up winning the Cup. I think they're an unbelievable team. But at this point, it's just kind of, we have to wait and see what's going to happen. I think they've been very good so far. Their group is still waiting to get fully healthy. So like we really have to wait and see. That was a very concerning game, though. However, but I don't think it's too concerning. However, there is reason to explain what happened there. The next team I want to discuss is the New York Islanders, who had an atrocious start to the season, and a terribly atrocious start to the season. However, they went 6-3-1 in their last 10 games. So the question I want to ask you guys, is there genuine hope that they could turn their season around despite this atrocious start? Now, before I ask you guys, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about their team. They currently have a 12-13-6 record. So, I mean, they've won 12 games, they've lost 13, and they've lost 6 in overtime.
So they're 12.
They currently have 30 points in 31 games and are currently sitting 16 points out of the last wild card spot in the East. So what I want to ask you guys is, at about the halfway point in the season, are their playoff hopes done for? And if they do turn it around, will they be capable of going on another deep playoff run? I'm going to ask Adamo Ramoli, what are your thoughts on the Islanders, and is there a chance they turn it around, or is it too late in the season?
I don't remember if I said this, but I'm pretty sure I did. If we recall back to like one of the first episodes, and the Islanders were like dead last, and I think Mario asked me, "You think this team can make the playoffs?" And I said, "This team will make the playoffs, and I'm going to stick by that." The reason being, yes, you say 16 points out of a playoff spot. I see 9 games behind a playoff spot, meaning sorry, not 9, 4 behind Boston, 8 behind Washington, who's in the first wild card spot. They only have 31 games played. So, like, I get that they're way behind, but you got to remember, if they win literally 4 of those, they're only 8 points behind. And 8 points, we know, teams can go on a 4-game run in a week. Teams could go on a 4-game loss in a week. So I think a team they randomly get in. I don't even like their roster that much. I know Pulak, Pelech, and Noah Dobson, I think they're fantastic defenders. I think Matt Barzal is slightly overrated, but still phenomenal player. I don't really see anyone else on their roster. That being said, 2 solid goalies can get you there. And I don't know. Lou always figures it out. So I'm going to stick by it. I think he's going to do it. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know why, but that's just normally how it works. And they're probably going to end up in the conference finals too.
Exactly. That's what happens with that team. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not really a fan of their roster. However, I'll give you that they're a very defensive structured team. And when you have Barry Trotz coaching, really anything's possible for that group. And they're the definition of a playoff team. I mean, I always give my rant about, the refs make it so those defensive teams end up having a better chance of going on a run because they're able to hit you and whatever. The Islanders are built that way to go on a playoff run. If they somehow squeak in, which I didn't actually realize that they had so much less games. So I guess that is a factor you have to consider. However, I mean, if they somehow squeak their way into the playoffs, which it's still going to be tough. But if there's any group that could do it, it is a group that's coached by Barry Trotz. And if they do squeak in, they absolutely have what it takes. They probably will end up going on another run just based on how they're built. They're single-handedly, they're just built for the playoffs. We're going to ask Evan Davis. What are your thoughts on their group?
Okay, I have zero hope in the Islanders making the playoffs, and if they do, they're not going to the Eastern Conference Finals because
I said that last year and the year before.
And the year before that.
I know. I know. I'm just saying, I don't because I just think all the teams in the Metro and the Atlantic just got that much better that I don't think that it would happen this year. I'm looking at teams like the Rangers that would get in their way. I'm looking at a team like Carolina that would get in their way. I'm looking at a much improved Pittsburgh Penguins that would get in their way. If it wasn't for a few blunders by Jari in overtime that one time and then just giving up stupid goals, they would have been past the Islanders. I'm looking at Florida, who looks hot right now. Tampa Bay, you still can't disrespect. And even Toronto, you can't disrespect. But I'm just looking at the remaining schedule that the New York Islanders have, and it's not pretty. They got to go through Toronto. They got to play Minnesota. They still got to play teams like Tampa Bay. They got to play. The Kings have suddenly woken up. I don't know what happened. They still got to play Avalanche. Vancouver still they got a tough road ahead. And the only way that they make the playoffs is if they somehow win 5 in a row or 6 in a row, and Washington and Boston both lose 6 in a row. And I just don't see that happening the way that Washington and Boston are currently constructed. And look, I feel bad for them because the Islanders are built for the playoffs, just not this year. COVID really derailed their season. I mean, I feel bad for them because I feel like this was a wasted year, and it's just unfortunate the way things turned out. But I understand that it's still like just a little bit over 25% into the season, but I just think the way that the other teams are trending right now, I think it's too late already.
And it's interesting. I just personally, I mean, I was going into this, I was bringing it up, kind of agreeing with you, but the fact that they have so many less games, I mean, well, I do agree. I'm not a fan of the roster construction. I think it is actually, if there's any team that's going to do it, it's that team that's coached by a guy like Barry Trotz. I think that's the argument I'm going to give. I agree with you. It's tough, and so many kind of stars have to align in order for it to happen. But I've written off the New York Islanders so many years in a row because I'm not a fan of their roster, and they consistently prove me wrong. So I think
I get it, but I just think
I'm not going to. No,
I was saying I don't really think the 8 games in hand, the 8 games in hand on Washington and the 4 on Boston really matters because Washington has 21-9-9. Like they've already built a comfortable lead to the point where they're not worried about New York, and Boston is only going to get better. I think they're going to. My prediction now is that they're going to trade for John Klingberg at the deadline. I think either one of Klingberg or Chychrun is going to end up in Boston, so that's just only going to improve their roster. So that's why I just don't see them in the wild card. And I just think the top 3 teams in the Metro and the Atlantic have already cemented themselves as those 3 teams. I mean, the wild card 1 and 2 can obviously change, but I think like wild card and those 3 teams have definitely cemented themselves.
Yeah, it's a valid point. You know, and I'm going to ask Mario what his thoughts are, and then I'll tell you kind of my opinion on that, because I think that's a very valid point to bring up. So Mario, what are your thoughts on the Islanders? Do you think there's any chance, or do you side more with Evan in the sense that their season's kind of done for?
Well, I side with a lot of points you guys all make. And I think this is the beauty of being the third guy to answer. Like, for the first part, they're the best team that is able to do it. I'm looking at the standings right now. Like the Devils, they're closer, and I don't think they're going to accomplish it. The Blue Jackets are not complete at all. Flyers don't even mention their name. Like those are the other teams that they got to compete for. Even the Detroit Red Wings, if you want to throw them there, led by so much youth. This New York Islanders team is, I think, very round out. They're not a gross roster. They're not going to star-studded on paper, but they can get it done when they have to get it done. When their backs are against the wall, they're probably the best team, I would say, not in the league, but they're in a pretty good spot where if their backs are against the wall, this team, you want them on the ice. I think Barry Trotz is a phenomenal coach, and he can get them there. I just don't think it's going to happen, and I don't want to rule them out because, again, they're the best team that can do it. Anything can happen. Hockey is hockey. And we've been treated to that over the last couple of years with them getting in, squeezing in, and then going on an absolute run. But like what Evan's saying, and I have to absolutely agree, like there's so much, and with the games in hand, obviously it plays a role, but like you need these competitive teams, those solidified top 3 teams to cut slack and lose a bunch in a row. And you need a couple of those teams to start trailing and losing 4, 5, 6 games in a row. And this Islanders team, they're a streaky club. They can go on a run. I don't have a question about them. It's not about them getting it done. It's about the other teams in the conference sort of getting their pedal off the gas is what I'm trying to say. It's a big hill to climb, man. It's unfortunate that it had to happen and they had to dig that hole through COVID and through injuries and all that kind of stuff. It's a shame. They deserve much better than what they're getting. I think they either going to come way too short and they're not going to get through, because I can't see this year's playoff being dazzled with the blue and orange. Can't see it.
Like, honestly, I'm a bit conflicted because I think both sides of the coin here are very much bringing up good points. I think the fact that they have games in hand is a positive sign.
It is.
It gives a sliver of hope to that group. However, I do agree that with I'd say the top 4 in each conference, like the top 4 in the Atlantic and the top 4 in the Metro, kind of starting to solidify themselves. I think the Islanders are very much going to have a tough time kind of climbing their way into that, despite the fact that they do have games in hand. I just think I do agree that the teams have sort of solidified themselves, so it's going to be a tough road ahead. But looking at the teams that currently aren't in the playoffs, if there's any team that's going to do it, it absolutely is the New York Islanders. Because, I mean, aside from the Islanders, the other teams in the Metro, it's Blue Jackets, Devils, Flyers. Don't really see any of them crawling their way back in there. And then the teams that aren't in the playoffs in the Atlantic, I mean, it's the Canadiens, Senators, Red Wings, and Sabres. So I don't know. I think for sure the top 4 in the Atlantic solidified themselves. the Islanders are going to have to fight their way into a wild card if they want any hope of making the playoffs. But they're going to have to knock one of the Penguins or Capitals off. So it is a tough road ahead for them if they do want to turn their season around. I think the chances there's a sliver of hope. But I think ultimately I'm going to side more with you guys. That was my opinion going into the show when I brought up the topic. I think it's likely not going to happen. However, there is reason to believe if any group's going to do it, it is going to be them. In talking about who the Islanders were going to play, one of the teams that sort of heated up a little bit that Evan mentioned was the LA Kings. And now we're going to move on to the Western Conference, where the playoff picture in the East, it sort of solidified itself. But in the West, it is looking like a freaking Picasso painting. The West is looking nothing like what anyone predicted it would be. Right now, the way it currently sits is the Avalanche, Blues, and Predators from the Central, with the Wilds currently in a wild card spot. But in the Pacific, especially, is where it gets weird, with the Golden Knights, Kings, and Ducks currently at the top three in the Pacific, with the Sharks as the wild card team. And yep, you heard that right. All three of the Jets, Oilers, and the Flames currently sit outside of a playoff spot. So with the West kind of being so random, my question is, first of all, what makes it the reason that there's so much more parity and randomness in the West as opposed to the East? And as well, is it too early in the season to discuss which teams will not make the playoffs? Or do you still think there's a lot of change that's going to happen in the West? So again, I'm just going to highlight the most interesting notes out of the Western Conference. It's all three California teams currently sitting in a playoff spot. Nashville, which I'll say wasn't expecting them to make the playoffs. They're currently sitting in a playoff spot. And all of those very good, especially the Canadian teams that currently sit on the outside looking in. So we're going to start with Mario. What are your thoughts on the West? And do you think things are going to change? Do you think it's still too early to make predictions, or just what are your thoughts overall?
I don't think it's too early to make predictions. I think I think things are going to change. Absolutely. There's so much hockey left to play. And if you're going to tell me that not only one Canadian team is going to make its way into the playoffs this year, I'm going to call you crazy, because there's a lot of good Canadian teams still here. The Edmonton Oilers, they're really iffy, and they're going to have to go on a run. And I don't know. I don't see much happening from them. I can see them actually missing the playoffs, to be quite frank. They don't have the pieces. Deadline will for sure change my thoughts if they make some noise there. But right now, even if you throw that losing streak away, it's not looking pretty. That team is not complete to contend nor go into the playoffs. But if there's one team that maybe could do it for the Canadian teams and join the Maple Leafs, would have to be the Winnipeg Jets. I think they're Romoli's gonna like this answer because he was in his predictions preseason. But no, the Jets are complete. I think they're more complete than any other Canadian team we're going to be talking about besides the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, they got a lot of pieces that can move. Hellebuck, I think, is yet to go on a hot run yet. So I think he's just going to show what he hasn't showed us his best hand. I think he's going to do that down a big stretch, and I think they're going to make a decent run for the playoffs. California teams are very interesting, and I think maybe one of them is going to stick in the playoffs. I don't know. They're not all legit. I don't think one of them is absolutely legit. They're all just mediocre. And this credits to why the Western Conference is shaped so much as it is right now. The Eastern, you can name me 5 or 6 contenders off the bat. Like, there's so many teams that can go for the cup right now, and you could just map out the entire situation. The Western Conference, it's really tough. Like, Colorado, I think, is the favorite to probably go to I think we can all agree is the favorite to go to the Cup, and the Vegas Golden Knights. The Blues, they still got a lot of things to prove, to me at least. And the Predators, they're a solid team. They're always going to make noise. They're always going to probably get to the playoffs, and they never give up. They're a tough team. They're well-rounded. So I got no question with them. But the reason why this Western Conference is so like a Picasso painting, as you put it, Jared, is just because the strength of the divisions and the strength of the conference in general. There's a lot of teams that are in that rebuild sort of exiting stage, whereas the Eastern Conference, it's either you're a rebuilding team or you're a contending team. There's no in between. The Western Conference has a lot of in betweens. Let's see which lines they fill in.
Yeah, I think you absolutely nailed it there. I think I do agree with your point that probably I don't think all 3 California teams will end up making it. However, I'd say none of these teams going into the season I predicted to make it, but probably the way things are going, I'd be surprised if all 3 end up falling out. So I'd say probably one ends up making it. And I'm going to ask you, because you brought up that point, which of the 3 do you think right now you put your money on to end up making the playoffs?
It's a bit of a coin flip, really. They're all really in similar situations. If I were to put one, I don't know, Evan, you know this team a lot more than I do. Are the LA Kings better than the Ducks and the Sharks? I don't follow them too closely. I'm looking at records and rosters right now. He's working with experience, and yeah.
I think out of the 3, I think it would be the Kings to make it, just because I'm curious to see what they do at the deadline in terms of like acquiring a defenseman, uh, or even getting just. I mean, they have the depth forwards for it, and they also just are waiting on guys. I don't think the Sharks are going to make it at all, because if you want to talk about games in hand, the Sharks are currently second place in the wild card at 44 points in 40 games, but trailing them by 4 points is Calgary, who has 6 less games. Now, if you want to talk about like the games in hand, that's more logical for Calgary to make it back in. Winnipeg's in the same boat. They're at 39 points. They still have 6 games in hand. And so is Edmonton with 5 games in hand, and they're trailing behind maybe like a little less, but I believe it's like 6 points that they're also behind. So I don't see the Sharks staying there. I think that's just kind of like luck of the draw based on what's going on right now. I would say though that I really like the way LA's played the last 4 games on that or the last 3 games on their homestand. They gave up 3 total goals. You know, they had a huge win against the Rangers. I mean, they absolutely pissed stomped the Penguins, which I could not believe. Like I was there and I could not believe what I had just witnessed. And I just think they beat the Kraken as well. Not really great, but they're getting hot now. And I think the only way that the Kings and Ducks make it is if they're the third team in the Pacific, because I see the 2 wildcard teams being from the Central.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I'm going to ask you this because I think you pay a lot more attention to the Western Conference and the California teams than us. So do you think that this kind of surprising runs from all through California teams, do you think that's going to change any team's plans? Like, do you think they're going to become buyers at the deadline compared to maybe what they were expecting going into the season? Like, do you think any team's really going to jump on their hot start and say, this is the year we're all in, we're going to make the playoffs and kind of buy at deadline? Like, do you think it's going to change any of their plans?
No, because if anything, I think the Kings should be sellers still. I really like it pains me to say this. I think the Kings really need to trade Anze Kopitar or Drew Doughty, one of the two, just because they need younger pieces. And the issue with keeping Kopitar and Doughty is that by the time those guys get older, like by the time they retire, I mean, that's when Byfield and Turcotte and Kaliev are going to be in their prime years. So I think they're still going to be sellers, because even if they do make the playoffs, it's not going to be a lot of noise. So I think they still got to think long term. And I really think a Drew Doughty trade or an Anze Kopitar trade, maybe Doughty before Kopitar, but I mean, they could get a lot for Doughty that could really help them in the future.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I think it would be a foolish decision if any of these 3 teams that like they aren't secure in a playoff spot and they very easily could fall out. I think it would be a foolish decision to kind of like say this is the year and go all in and buy things. It would be a dumb decision. But I was just wondering, like, do you really think any of those teams will do that? So I think you gave up.
No, they're going to continue to be sellers, but buyers in the aspect of future, not like grabbing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like not like what the Maple Leafs were doing, like with Nick Foligno, and then like kind of as a rental. Like if the Ducks are trading for someone, it's for someone that's buying a home in Anaheim. Like it's not
going to be part of their core moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, I agree with that. So now we already asked you that question, but I'm just going to ask you the overall question of kind of what do you think the reason for the Western Conference being so weird right now is, and do you think it's too early to discuss like which teams will make the playoffs, and kind of what do you think by the end of the season the Western Conference will kind of shape up like?
Well, I don't know. It's really weird because I thought Calgary was really good, and now they're 500. Like I know they're hockey 17, 11, and 6, but 17 and 7 is 500. So I just couldn't believe that. Given that Markstrom's still first in shutouts and is still so comfortable save percentage wise, I think a lot of it just has to do just giving teams a little bit more time. And I'm really high on Nashville. I really think UC Saros has the capability of stealing a series for you, and I think the Nashville Predators can really go far. I think they could definitely beat St. Louis in a playoff series, just given if you put these 2 teams matched up right now. And I think in terms of the Pacific Division specifically, Vegas they haven't been healthy. When guys come back, they're slowly leaving again. Pacioretty was here for about 10 games, and then now he has surgery. I mean, obviously, Eichel hasn't gotten there yet. Mark Stone has been in and out of the lineup. Shea Theodore, Martinez has I think Vegas could easily be like 23, 7, and 5 or whatever it is. Like, I just think they're that good. But I don't know. The West is just weaker right now, and you'll have those years where the West is the weaker conference and the East is the stronger one. Back in the 2010s with all those cups that LA and Chicago were winning, you would say the West was stronger at that time. So I just think it's now teams like LA and Chicago are rebuilding, and during that time, so were the Eastern Conference teams, and now it's their turn. So that's what I got to say.
Yeah, and those are all great points, and I completely agree. And just back to Vegas for a moment, where earlier we were talking about the fact that, they're currently on a little bit of a losing streak, but the reason I'm so high on the Golden Knights is the fact that with all the injuries they had, they are still remaining at the top of the Pacific Division, and they're just a very good team.
They would be in a wild card if they were in the Central. I think it's just the fact that the Pacific is so weak right now that they're able to stay.
And that is a fair point. It's not like they have the toughest competition, and that's why going into the season, I thought Edmonton was going to be able to do well, just because it's not a credit to Edmonton. I don't like their roster, but just they're in the Pacific. It's the weakest division, so I do think Vegas is a little bit eating alive on teams. But no, they're a good and they're a strong team, and you have to think that when they're completely healthy, that is going to be a scary team moving forward.
Yeah.
But now we're going to finish off this question by asking Adamo, and just what are your thoughts on the Western Conference overall? And the question, I've repeated it a million times.
Yeah. As you guys were talking, I was looking at one team, and I'm like, I've backed this team before, and I'm going to back them again. Going back to the Canadian teams, I still think the Calgary Flame is one of the best teams in the league. And I think they've had a little rough run of form the last 10. They're 2-7, 2-7-1, I should say. So 2-8. But this team is still a phenomenal defensive team. And I think Matthew Tkachuk he's having the most underrated season out of everyone in the NHL. At 5-on-5, I think his line has let up less than 10 goals. It's been ridiculous. I'll throw some stats at you. Expected goals for percentage. They're second in the league at all situations. And in terms of actual goals for percentage, they're still in the top 10. Markstrom is still unbelievable. I still have good depth too. Andre Mangiapane he chilled after shooting 50% to start the season. They still have Sean Monahan. They still have Dylan Dubé. Their defensive core, I like it off top to bottom. I think Anderson's really good. Oliver Shillington, super underrated guy. I love the way he moves the puck. So I wouldn't be opposed to chucking some money on the Calgary Flames to win the division. I know Vegas is fantastic and hockey's random. I think those are the two big dogs there, undeniably, because that shit show just I think 3 hours north of them is it's a tire fire there. I would not want to be in the Edmonton Oilers locker room. I don't know if we're going to touch on that, but
Brendan Perlini clearly likes to be in that locker room, but we'll get to that.
Actually, I didn't. I was scrolling through it. McDavid's comments. Holy crap! That whole team is in shambles right now. Yeah. But heading back to the Calgary Flames, I love the Flames roster, and maybe I was wrong about calling them the best team in Canada, but I'm certainly not wrong that there is an argument to be made that they are the best team in Canada. And I know they're on a playoff spot, but again, like the Islanders argument, they're 6 games behind everyone, so it could happen. It could completely happen.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think they are a good team. Of course, just looking simply at the fact that the Leafs are currently the only Canadian team in a playoff spot, and in general, just going into the year, in my opinion, obviously there's the playoff reasons that people are going to doubt them, but I think roster-wise, I personally think the Leafs are the best team in Canada. However, the Flames are not far behind. I think you absolutely you're not crazy for giving them the credit, because I think they do deserve a lot of credit. They are a strong team, and I think they are built for the playoffs. Of course, they haven't really had a recent playoff run. However, I do think they have the roster there that, depending on matchup, I could see this team ending up going on a playoff run. I think they are a strong team overall. And in a Pacific division, they're likely, if they end up cracking the top 3, they're going to end up with probably a weird or random matchup that, depending on what it is, I could see the Flames ending up going on a run, because they are a strong team. So I don't think you're crazy for giving them the credit they deserve at all. But in general, the West is just weird. And I think all 3 of you guys said it. The West is very weird right now. And like Evan was saying, the reason for that is it kind of flip-flops. There's years where the East is the weaker conference. There's weird years where the West is. And of course, this year, it's pretty night and day that the East is very strong and starting to solidify itself. And the West is absolutely random. And it's very hard to predict what it's going to be like at the end of the year. But we're going to try to do that because with most teams currently reaching about the halfway point of the season.
Jared, can I just say one thing? I'm sorry. I was listening to this. I can't say that the Flames are great defensively. Like there's no way you can say that as of late that the Flames are great defensively.
Well, not as of late in the sense that they're currently on a losing streak. So of course you're going to poke holes in that. But all season long, I think they have been a good team. I'm going to give them the credit. They're a good team.
They're very good defensively. I think.
I think they're a good team.
Like I mean, they're tied for 5th in goals allowed, 9th in shots on goal allowed. Like they're getting it done on the basic stats. I'm sure Ramoli could pull up some absolute utter crazy stats that'll even show it even more. But
I did even expect the goals against.
The roster on the back end too is nice.
That's what I was naming. I think
the Flames are a good team. I think I'd give them their credit. They aren't currently.
I don't think they would go on a huge run though, like because
they aren't my pick to win the cup or anything. I mean, I know
what you mean by that.
But I think they could win depending on who they have to be matched up against. I think they're capable of it. I think they're 100%.
I'm not a fan of their. I don't know, Adamo. I was going to ask you this question, but like. Yeah. What's your thoughts on the depth? Because like they acquire Blake Coleman in the offseason, pay him a little bit more than maybe should have went for. They don't get him. Well, Sean Monahan, he's been there forever. He hasn't been producing at the likes at all. Like that's where I get a little bit concerning because there's not a lot of weak spots to poke at the Calgary Flames. I know they're a hot and cold offense, hot and heavy, but like the goaltending's phenomenal of later, and Markstrom is one of the best tandems in the league. Their defensive, I think, is very good. That unit there, their special teams are quite good as well. But they're really top heavy. You mentioned Tkachuk is a pretty. He's having a phenomenal year, underrated, underestimated for sure. And I hate to say that because I hate the Tkachuks, but no, you got to give credit to him. I don't see anything beside that 2 lines. I don't know. Do you see anything better? Because Monahan, I need to see him pick it up, and Coleman, he's been a little dry as well.
No, you kind of have a point, but I'm actually like on the opposite. I kind of like their depth. You forgot to mention they still have Mangiapane. Backlund's their second line center. Yeah, Bolton guy. Backlund's good two-way center. Sean Monahan's their third line center. So the offense isn't going to come for him because he's not getting those minutes, but he's never been a huge point producer. I hated that it was Gaudreau and Monahan when it was Gaudreau and then Monahan. It's kind of like when Kessel and like Bozak played on the same line, you know? And even on defense, Chris Tanev is one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. Nikita Zadorov has kind of had a little resurgence season. He throws a shit ton of hits. He's a big guy. And I hate to say it. I think this team is built for the playoffs. Matthew Tkachuk is a playoff player. Chris Tanev, playoff player. Rasmus Andersson, good on the power play. Solid defensively, not afraid to throw the body. 2 solid goalies. You know, Slater obviously isn't the starting goalie, but he's a very adequate.
He's pulled his weight.
1B backup. Yeah, he's been good for what he's needed to do. Obviously, Markstrom's Markstrom. Their first line, like I said, unbelievable. I did pull up the stat among lines that have played over 250 minutes together, which is a lot. They are 3rd in goals against with 8. They've only let in 8 goals on 5-on-5, that 3 line. So that line is Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau. So I think they've been fantastic together. And I like the team. They got like their 4th line is whatever. I'm looking at it right now. Trevor Lewis, Brad Richardson, who notoriously is a fantastic penalty killer. And Brett Ritchie. It's kind of crazy. He's the Ritchie who has a spot in the lineup right now. But yeah, I seriously do like this team because I think they are built to go on a run.
Evan, but I'm curious. What do you see? Like, what holes need to be filled with this team?
Just recently, they haven't played well.
COVID killed them.
They're on a lose.
COVID destructed them. Like they were the start of the whole COVID.
I was never but that was a little while back. I'm just saying, like right now, I would not put them as a team that's great defensively because they're just getting killed. Look, like I understand if you're like losing games or whatever. Like, let's wrap this up. I'm just saying, like they're losing bad. Like they're losing.
They're in a big rut right
happens.
now.
You know?
I'm just
Every
saying,
team's going to go on.
But even when they were beating, like they beat the Kraken, they allowed 4 goals against Seattle. Like I just don't know how you even. I don't even know
It
how
was
you do it.
bad. Yeah. And you know what?
I'm
Goalies
just-
have bad games too.
Yeah.
Like, remember, a team that they definitely do rely on Markstrom a lot, but I think that's a thing with a lot of good goalies do that, except if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. But Jack Campbell will bring up the Leafs. He gets relied on a lot.
Yeah.
And that I think that inflates the Leafs' actual defensive numbers. Just watching them and looking at their decor, it's not fantastic. But then you look at, I don't have it in front of me, but they're probably top 10 in goals against, probably even top 5, which looking at their decor, I'd say no way. So
Yeah.
maybe just a rut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, I think I would give Calgary credit for being a good team. And the reason, like, I just think they are good defensively. I think they are a good team. And I think it's a little bit of recency bias of, oh, they've lost 4 in a row, so then you're going to take away from them. But all season long, I mean, they have been one of the best teams in the league. So I don't think it's fair to entirely kind of flip that on their head after a few bad games. I think you kind of have to wait and see there. And maybe if they keep this up for another month or so, then you could start poking holes in their lineup. But right now, I think they're still all season long. They've been one of the hottest teams. So I'd give them their credit. I think they are capable, depending on who they have to be matched up against. I think they could end up going on a run. But now I guess we'll move on to the topic I was going to introduce before, with obviously closing out, talking about the Western Conference now, with teams around like their 40th game of the season. Like, we're reaching the halfway point of the season. The Leafs, for reference, we're at our 36th game in the season. We're slowly nearing the halfway point. So at this time, I want to hear your far too early winners of each conference in the playoffs. So the 2 teams you think will make the finals out of the East and out of the West. And at this time, tell me, who is your pick to win the Stanley Cup at the end of the season? And yep, we will hold you to this one at the end of the year.
Already?
Oh my God, put me on the spot, why don't you?
We're going to start with Mr. Evan Davis.
Thank
All
God.
right. Okay. My 2 teams, and I think I'm going to keep this until I want this to be kept. I think it's going to be Florida versus Colorado. And I have Florida winning in 7 because I think this is just going to be a continuous back and forth series. I mentioned it to you guys in the group chat. Florida has just been unfucking believable. I mean, like, they need to be they're in a class of their own right now. And although they're tied for points with Tampa Bay, I just think stats don't tell you the whole picture. And the way that they play, they are just beating the crap out of teams, like legit beating the living shit out of them. They just smoked Columbus 9-2. I think like the game before that, they beat Dallas 6-1. They're winning and they're not giving up goals. And I think that's the huge point, is that they're getting big leads, but they're also finding ways to keep them. Like in that game against Columbus, they scored 3 goals, I think, within like the first 7 minutes of the game. And some teams like Vegas last night would almost just be like happy with that lead, but Florida just doesn't care. Like, they're basically playing until that final buzzer sounds. And just with Colorado, Kemper has just been able to hold his weight, but he just did get injured yesterday, so hope for the best. But Colorado is just unbelievable. Like, the season that Nazem Kadri's having, and he's not even playing on that line with McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. And Cale Makar has 17 goals as a defenseman. I'm going to keep my pick.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that a lot. I'm going to go with the Adamo Ramoli now. What are your thoughts?
So you wanted the 2 conferences, the conference
so
finals?
Eastern winner, Western winner, and then put it together. Who do you think is winning the Stanley Cup?
Okay, so
and
on the
sure,
Eastern...
Evan said how many games. So say how many games.
Yeah, sure. On the East, I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to be Boston versus Carolina.
Interesting.
And I think Boston moves on because they've been shitting on kids lately. And then on the West, I'm gonna go the Colorado Avalanche versus the Calgary Flames. And then Colorado's probably gonna shit on them. And I'm gonna go Colorado, even though it's so easy to pick Colorado, man. I'm going to go Boston beats Colorado in 7.
Interesting. Okay, I like that a lot as well. Mario, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so the best part about the playoffs for me is that it's the playoffs when like that emblem comes out with the Stanley Cup on it, the music and the intros comes out.
Yeah.
They
paint the little Stanley Cup finals
exactly.
line.
That's the best part, man. That's
the
the
best.
meat and potatoes. So it's playoffs. It's a totally different game. And the reason why it's a totally different game is teams play a totally different way. Florida Panthers still, to me, are not a playoff team. And I don't see anything from them just except for the fact
Wait, I'm sorry. What did you say?
they beat you down, kill
I
you, and
agree
then
with
beat
him.
you with your own hands.
Wait.
I'm not confident
What
in
did you
Florida.
say? Oh,
Panthers
for
aren't.
fuck's sakes.
They're
Oh,
making
for
the
fuck's sakes.
playoffs. I'm
Oh,
not
for
an
fuck's
idiot.
sakes.
They're
Oh,
not
for
going
fuck's
far in
sakes.
the playoffs. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
I got my finals here, and the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, they're a gross team. They're complete, but they're not as complete as the Vegas Golden Knights when healthy.
I forgot a team.
I got the Vegas Golden Knights in the finals. I think I'm gonna go the way of Adamo, how he was saying it. So I got Vegas playing. Didn't they already play Colorado last year too? Because it's gonna be a rematch.
Round two.
Yeah, they
round
beat them
two.
in 6.
If it can happen, I don't know if the logistics play out, but I'd like to see a Colorado Vegas final in the West, and I'd like to see on the East side of things a Tampa Bay Lightning versus who was my team again? I believe it was the Carolina Hurricanes. Tampa Bay, Carolina for the East. Tampa Bay moves on. Vegas moves on, and Vegas defeats Tampa Bay to hoist their first ever cup in franchise history, and I believe their 5th year, if I'm not mistaken. And I got that in 6 games. So I personally don't think Florida, and you can show me all the 9-2 wins, 8-2 wins, lopsided wins as you want. It's pretty easy to hold on to a lead when you're up that much. Let's be honest.
No. But I'm saying, like, even at the games that they're playing, like,
they're ruthless, bro. They're ruthless.
But
I don't
like,
want to go against
their
them.
depth. I think is one of the most underrated in the NHL. Like, when they're coming back in games, surprisingly, it's not the Hubertos and Barkovs that are scoring the goals. It's guys like Lomberg and Sam Bennett and Reinhardt. That's why I just think, like, I think
they're scary.
Yeah,
They're
that's
scary.
why I think that they and the way that Bobrovsky's playing right now, like, how could you not pick, like? And actually, the only reason I didn't pick Vegas was because I just have a weird feeling that they're not going to do as well this year in the playoffs when Eichel comes back, because I think there's going to be too much
Chemistry, right?
Too much of a chemistry
The
issue
group hasn't played together yet.
there. And it's like, where do you put Stevenson? Where do you even put Eichel? Like, how does everything work out? I think they'll get to the cup final next year. I have a weird feeling something bad's going to happen when Eichel comes back.
Okay, so just before I say mine, Evan said the Florida Panthers are winning the cup. Mario went with Vegas.
Oh wait, did I say 4?
I went with Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas and Adamo. Sorry, you went with Boston, right?
Boston Bruins. Can I mention a team that I forgot today?
Yep.
I'm going to take Calgary out, and
God.
logistics probably don't line up, but the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, for fuck's sakes!
Superstar Kirill the Thrill.
Oh my God!
Throwing out the mediocre out of
Not
Minnesota.
this conversation again.
Whoa!
Not this conversation again.
Do not disrespect the state of hockey like that.
State of hockey, baby.
Yeah, Boston. Say it, Jared.
Okay. Wait, sorry. So your finals, you put Minnesota versus...
No. It's still Boston, Colorado.
I think he was saying like Western Conference or like.
I gave the 2 conference finals. I thought that's what you asked for. So.
Well, you know what? Everyone else said it, so I'll do that too. I'm going to start. I think the West is a lot easier, to be honest. The East, I want to say a team, but I just can't.
Jared, don't.
You can't.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it.
Dude, like, it's baby steps with you. Come on.
I am not doing it. Okay. Okay, from the West, we're going to do, in the conference finals, Colorado versus Vegas. It's easy. From the East, we're going to go Tampa versus Carolina. I think Carolina moves on to the finals. Ooh. I think Colorado moves on to the finals. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes are my Stanley Cup champion. I think I'd do that. You know what? It's fun. 7 games. I think it goes to 7 games. And I think Freddie Anderson, Stanley Cup champion.
Oh my God.
You know why? You know, like, why I'm also thinking Carolina? Because I also think they're going to get Claude Giroux and put him in as that second line center.
Oh, you missed it. Last episode.
Yeah, last time we discussed that. I actually...
Yeah,
if any team would make a run at it, I
talked to him. Like, I was talking to my dad about it too, and he's like it could make sense. I think if you float like a few defensive prospects their way, I seriously think, although he's been better left wing, I still think that as a second line center with those boys, I think it would be really good.
They're going all in, baby.
True to Toronto.
Okay, I mean, obviously, okay. Round 2 is Tampa versus Toronto. I'm saying that. Round 2, Tampa versus Toronto.
You're going through the whole. You're going through the whole.
I'm not doing my whole bracket. I'm just saying, like, I wanted to put Toronto going to round 3, but I'm like, hey, I can't do that. However, I do have them winning around this year, but I think that Tampa beats them around too. So that's all I'm going to say on that. But now, kind of in the same light as the previous question, we wanted to see what teams you think are going to go far. But now we're going to talk about individual players around the halfway point of the season. So now's the time I'm going to ask you to name 4 awards. I'm going to ask you to name, at this point, the Norris winner, the Rocket winner, the Vezina winner, and the Hart. So how do you...
Wait, well, the Rocket winner's a little...
I think we're going to go who we think is going to win the Rocket.
Are you talking about like who's going to win it?
By the end of the season, who do you think will end up
Oh my God. I thought you were talking about like our mid-season awards because I was like, the Rocket is like already set. Like
No, I mean like by the end of the season.
Oh, okay, for sure.
So even me, like I didn't actually write it out in my predictions. So I'm going to give you... I'm going to give everyone like a second go look around a little bit at the points, and I want you to name those 4 awards because I think those at the end. I don't care.
What were the 4?
Winner and
the Rocket,
the Norris, the Vezina, and the Hart.
Okay, I have my 4.
Yeah, I got my 4.
Okay, so you know, Evan, if you have your 4, while
I got my 4. Okay,
just name your.
Okay.
Why don't we go in order of like award? We'll start with one award.
Why don't we do that?
That's what I was gonna ask you. Should we do Hart?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So like just one word answers who we think, and then just move on. Like just say the name.
Yeah.
Say the name.
Okay.
Okay. So are we gonna start with which one are we starting with?
We'll start with the Hart. That's
okay.
With
the Hart. Okay. I'll give 2 because one I feel like is going to be voted, but I have a dark horse that I think can also get it. Okay, so for the Hart, I'm going to go with Alex Ovechkin. I think the story fits for given age and talent. I think my dark horse would be Jonathan Huberdeau because I think he's just been absolutely believable. So those are my 2.
I don't even got a dark horse. It's Jonathan Hubert all the way for the Hart right now, man. That is he's doing ridiculous things right now, and at not his age, but he's got a bit of miles on him, and he's going crazy.
Hey, Braden, you heard Jonathan
motherfucking
Hubert?
Dude, baby.
No, but like Kaprizov is better. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, yes.
For reference, there was a heated debate in a hockey fantasy group chat. Someone in our group chat tried to argue that Kaprizov is better than Huberdeau. Horrible argument. Move on.
No. I think it's closer than you think.
Closer than I think. Sure, I like Kaprizov. He's not better than Huberdeau. Adamo, you tell me.
Just move on now.
Right now.
All right, the Hart winner. So because Evan said Ovi, so I'm not going to go with Ovi because Ovi would be my take. You know, it's the NHL. It makes too much sense. I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche's best player this season, Mikko Rantanen.
I knew it was coming.
Mikko Rantanen. I think Mikko Rantanen. He probably won't because Nathan McKinnon is there, and we just think McKinnon's that much better because he probably is, but not this season. I think Rantanen's been the best guy. Dark horse, his teammate Kyle McCarr.
Interesting.
For the Hart, wow.
For the Hart.
Hart is bold, but
Hart is MVP.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jared, once you're done, I just wanted to say one thing after, but once you go with your obviously.
So for starters, what I'm gonna say is how the award, even though I always have a problem with the Hart because the team award is player most valuable for their team. But they always end up giving it to one of McDavid or Draisaitl. I think it's dumb because like if both players are top 2 in league scoring, then how is one most valuable for their team? So like it's stupid. However, just going with how the award is usually given out, like you can't not say Leon Draisaitl. Like I'm gonna give it to Leon Draisaitl just because that's how the award is.
Okay, well let's say.
But I have a problem.
Okay.
I have a problem with how that is. So I think a realistic player. I also agree, Jonathan Huberdeau. I think because Florida is going to end up being regular season at least one of the most dominant teams. Huberdeau is going to be a massive part of that. So I'm giving it to Huberdeau. However, realistically, my prediction is it's going to be Draisaitl, and I think it's so dumb because just the name of the award is most valuable to their team. If both are top 2, then it.
Could I say like what I was going to say to your point was though, the way Edmonton's playing right now, I just don't think I don't even think from like a media standpoint you could say Leon Draisaitl has been more valuable than a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau or even Mikko Rantanen.
Fair. If Edmonton's in the shitter by the end of the year.
No, I also just think from a media standpoint, they also like the NHL also wants to see someone new because then over time it's just going to become so predictable. So I do think it's going to be a new face.
I do agree with that. However, I've said it should be someone new years in a row.
If it should be someone new, I have a dark horse. I have another dark horse. Brad Marchand
rolling out the cavalry. Man.
Brad Marchand has 46 points in 30 games.
Yeah,
elite defensively. He's
and he isn't an all-star.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Could you imagine? I want that to happen so badly. It's going to be so bad on the NHL.
Bryce Harper, baseball, wasn't an all-star, won the NL MVP.
So stupid. So
Yeah.
imagine winning MVP but not being an all-star.
What's
Good
the
Lord.
what's the next award that you're
Now I guess we'll move on to the Norris.
Cale Makar?
It's unanimous.
It's unanimous.
It's
man.
probably
I
mean
Jared.
we're saying it right now. I actually wouldn't like. I think it's between Cale Makar and Adam Fox. I just think by the
Hedman's
time
up there too.
Yo,
I think
so-
Hedman's having a
Well, I
pretty
think
decent
Hedman and
season.
Yossi
No,
are 1 and 2. I'm pretty
I
sure.
honestly think the three at the end of the year are going to be Cale Makar, Roman Yossi, and Adam Fox. Just given the rebound year by Roman Yossi last year, and he lost Ryan Ellis. I think those three are going to be the finals.
I'm just pulling
Cale
up right
Makar
now.
will win it.
I think Hedman also, like, as much as
I'm
I shit on
pretty
Hedman, he's had a really good season. 40
Yeah,
points in
but-
40
per
games.
game.
Yeah.
Always though.
I think he's a lock to be in the top 3 because
I feel
that's
like
just how it works.
I don't know if I'm being weird, but did his stock fall a bit when you're looking at the best defenseman in the league? Because like Cale Makar is just out here every night.
I think
putting up
Makar's went up.
ridiculous.
I think
Cale
Makar's
Makar's
just more
averaging
flashy.
over, but he's averaging over a point per game. Cale Makar's 37 points in 32 games as a defenseman. And
You just want another guy?
in
another
those
guy?
He's
32
also the
games,
goal scoring leader.
Sorry.
So
Devin
What?
Tays,
not for the
26 points in 25 games.
no, he's
I don't
not
think
very
he's
good,
played
but
enough.
just-
The
Probably
injury,
not. No,
the
it's going to be
injury-
Makar. It's
yeah.
going to be Makar. I know
It will
that,
be.
but I want to give some. We know it's
Yeah.
going to be Makar. It's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to be Makar. But like, just to give some light to another defenseman,
Yeah.
I would have never expected Devin Tays to be more than a point a game. So
I
Honestly-
did. That's why I wanted to draft him so bad, and everyone took
That's
him
fair.
from me.
that's fair.
I knew he was
didn't
going to
see-
be this good.
I
That's
knew
why-
he was fantastic. I didn't think he had like that point
No,
upside.
bro.
You know?
Last year, dude. Bro, last year Devon Taves was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
he's a
too.
great player. Definitely a great player.
Honestly,
Aaron
though, I'm-
Ekblad, eh?
Yeah,
Keep going here.
Ekblad's doing
There's
amazing
so
too.
many.
I want
There's
to
so-
give credit to Roman Yossi though, because he had a very bad season last year, and he's
Yeah.
doing unbelievable. He's right now second in
Yeah.
defensive points, and if he keeps this up, and Nashville is one of the best teams by the end of the season, I could see him being at least in the top 3. I realize Makar is gonna.
I think he could be in the conversation. I don't say the top 3. Definitely top 5.
I think it's a huge if Nashville finishes the season as one of the hottest teams, and he's again like if Yossi finishes, let's say 1 or 2 in defensive scoring,
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
you could definitely make an argument for him being top.
Yeah,
3,
that's valid. That's valid.
like in the top 3.
For sure.
You guys want
Now I
to?
guess
Can I give a fun stat about the Norris?
yeah.
So last year, Tyson Berry led the NHL in points and became the first defenseman in NHL history to lead all defensemen in points and not have a single Norris vote.
Because he played with McDavid and Draisaitl 3
I know.
on 3 half the
It's
time.
so funny that this guy had more than a point a game last year and didn't even get a 5th place vote.
Well, that's why we always say like points, even from a team, like standing wise and
Yeah.
even player wise, they don't tell the full
Oh,
story.
I agree. He shouldn't have gotten a vote. I just
No,
find
I'm
it's
adding-
so telling
adding
how
to your-
useless his points are.
No, I'm adding to your point, saying
Yeah.
like they don't tell the whole story.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, well,
for
well,
sure.
I'm happy that the voters actually looked into it a little bit more and didn't just search up NHL point leaders and select Tyson Berry, 'cause that would have been dumb. Like I'm
Yeah.
happy that they actually looked into it and like, okay, you have to consider the fact that he played this much time with McDavid and Draisaitl. That obviously,
And he didn't even have that many primary assists. They were always
Yeah,
secondary.
He had 2 points last season where he wasn't on the ice for. I swear to God, he had 2, not 1, 2. Where he gave the puck to McDavid or whoever, got off and got a point for it twice. That happened twice.
Yeah. All right,
So-
Mario, who is your pick?
that's yeah, Mario
For which
for
award?
the
Norris.
Norris.
For the
I
Norris?
thought he said
yeah,
Makar.
it was.
Yeah, he gave
unanimous.
Oh,
Makar.
you said
Yeah,
Makar?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah, now
feel
we
like
can.
I feel like it's gonna be 1A and 1B again with Makar and Fox. I just think like the 2 young guns, I think it's gonna be great.
Oh, well, but before we move on, the next one we're going to be the Vezina, so I'm going to tell you guys to get that ready. But what I am going to say is the reason someone mentioned the fact that I guess Hedman isn't being talked about as much is like, quote unquote, his stock is falling a little bit. It's just because Makar and
Yes,
Fox are these
absolutely.
young, flashy defensemen, whereas Hedman, sure, he racks up the points. He's, I believe, at least last time I checked, he's at 39 points in 39 games. So he's having a great season. But he's just such like he's a big body. He's just very stable defensively. But he isn't doing the flashy shit that Makar's doing. So like that's the reason that Makar's just getting all the credit, and rightfully so. I mean, he's the leader in goal scoring for defensemen, and he's just doing things that no other defenseman could do. So he's unbelievable, and yeah, he deserves all the credit. He absolutely will be in the mix, at least top 3. Likely right now is the favorite to win. But now I guess we'll move on to who do you guys think will end up winning the Vezina by the end of the season?
I got my guy.
Yeah, you go. You go.
So Demo, you start.
I got
okay. I think this one, I hate to say it, should be unanimous.
If he says what I think he's gonna say, I'm gonna give him a fat punch.
Well, I know if it's not.
Okay, go.
I'm going to say it. We all know who it's going to be. It's going to be Igor Shesterkin.
Okay, you
no?
relieved your punch. No.
Okay.
Don't worry. When I talk, I'll give you the slice.
Interesting. I think it should and I don't even think it should be up for discussion. He's 17-4 with a 1.99 goals against average, leads the league in goals saved above expected, goals saved above average. 17-4, 1.99. I don't see how you give it to anyone else.
I agree with that. That's a fair answer. I think there's other guys I'd throw in the mix. However, he's absolutely up there. I mean, I was going to say the stats you were going to say. He's just doing unbelievable this season. He's such a part of the
carrying them. He's carrying them.
He is such a part in the reason that the Rangers are the team.
And, going back to the Hart argument, I think even Shesterkin has a case for the Hart.
Yeah,
you're talking most valuable to their team.
Yeah,
if you replace Shesterkin with an average goalie, I don't even think the Rangers sniff the playoffs.
No chance. It's harder with goalies. I definitely think he'll get votes, but I think he'll maybe be top 10, just not really
Yeah,
he'll definitely get maybe 3, but I don't see
Yeah.
I was thinking, this is probably not going to happen, but I was thinking Sergei Bobrovsky, just the rebound year that he has. I understand it's Florida and they're already expected to be fantastic, but they were supposed to be fantastic last year and Bobrovsky just wasn't it. And that's why they had to recall Spencer Knight to the NHL right out of college. And now he's 19-3-3 with a 2.47 goals against average and a .929 save percentage. I just think he definitely deserves some kudos for being for finally being the $10 million goalie he is after receiving probably a whole book worth of slander.
I think that's fair as well. Now, Mario, what are your thoughts on the Vezina?
Yeah, so this is what I was hoping Adam wouldn't say, and he didn't, thankfully. I thought he was going to go Jack Campbell. And
that's what I thought you were going to go with too.
You want to know why?
Because
we did a preseason show about rankings, all that jazz. It was me, Adamo, and Mateo, our old friend from the Leafs Line podcast, and we were given our Vezina rankings preseason, nothing on paper, anything done. And I said Jack Campbell, and I got laughed at, mocked, very much so. Mr. Ramoli was one giving me the forefront of the blunt.
I'm fully I'll admit to being so wrong about that is one thing. If I'm wrong about, holy shit, I'm so wrong.
Well, I think it was valid at the time.
I think at the time, I thought Mrazek was become the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I genuinely believed it.
Look, when you're making preseason predictions, it's okay to be wrong.
And I could at least I can admit to it too.
That's good.
I was fully wrong about
that.
But
I'm not pumping my tires on Jack Campbell because I don't think he's winning the Vezina. I'm going with you. Igor Shesterkin is on another planet, man. He is. Jack Campbell's good and all, and he's doing a great job with the Leafs. The numbers don't lie. It would be a terrific story if he did win the Vezina, nonetheless. But
it would suck for the Leafs,
Igor,
because then they would have to pay him a lot more.
Oh yeah, well, not for the Leafs contract-wise, but for his career, when you looked at what he's gone through, it'd be a pretty good achievement. He'd be definitely emotional about that. But I got Shesterkin, man. He is leaps and bounds over any other goaltender, I'd say. Even Vasilevsky, he has really proven a case.
Yeah.
For me, at least. I had to write his numbers down for an article I wrote a couple weeks ago, and I had to second guess the numbers and look at it again because I didn't think they were real. And they're real.
Yeah. And I'm tired of giving it to Vasilevsky. You just got to look at the team in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I said Bobrovsky was just because the rebound. I mean, nobody expected I picked him last in both the fantasy leagues because I was like, fuck it. If it works out, it works out. And it's fucking worked out.
You hit.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Jack Campbell isn't my answer. I'm going to start by saying that Jack Campbell's not my winner of the Vezina. However, there is an argument there. I mean, he's second to Shesterkin in save percentage, I believe. He's having a phenomenal season. I think he deserves a lot of credit. But I'm actually, while Shesterkin's probably my favorite, just to bring another name for the sake of the argument, I think Jussi Saros deserves a lot of credit. If the Nashville Predators if they could end the season as hot as they are right now, Saros is obviously going to be the reason for that. Currently, just looking at win totals, and obviously wins isn't how I judge a goalie, but it is still a factor you consider. I mean, Saros is currently second to Vasilevsky in the wins department with 20, and he doesn't have a team like Tampa in front of him. I mean, not that Nashville's bad. Obviously, they've proven me wrong. They're having a good season. But it's not like I'd say he has a super team in front of him. I think he's a big part in the reason that he's getting those wins. Unlike Vasilevsky with Tampa, where I think just with the nature of the team he has, he's gifted a lot of wins. I think Saros is the reason for why Nashville's very high up in the wins department. He currently is having a very good season, like save percentage wise and goals against wise. I think he is at least top 3 in my opinion right now. I think he's up there.
He should be a finalist.
I'm gonna give Campbell his nod as well. And Campbell's doing unbelievable, but I don't want him to win it purely for the reason that having the title of Vezina winner, just you have to like that's.
You're looking at another Philip Grubauer situation.
Exactly.
I'm not saying. I'm sorry. I mean from a contract standpoint, not from like a skill wise. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that. I meant like
like having reigning Vezina winner is just such a bargaining thing you could say, and I don't want him to have that. I'd love it for him, but as a Leafs fan, as a selfish Leafs fan, I don't want him to win the Vezina.
I think he starts with 8. He gets 8. If he wins the Vezina, at very least like 8. How do you not, man?
Like if he wins the Vezina, if he wins the Vezina, his starting market's at 5.5. At least 5.5 million.
Start? Oh my god! I think he starts at 8. I think he asked for 8.
Whoa!
He'll go.
No.
Why not? What?
Because no.
Because he's gonna say I'm the best goalie in the league in the last 2 years. I've shown it. You can't argue.
I mean,
it's not
going to broken records, and if he does win the Vezina, he's the Vezina winner.
He's going to start with 8. Is what I mean. Like I think Mitch Marner probably started with 13, and it ended up coming down.
Where I disagree with you there is that Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas are going to look to the west side of Canada and say, look at what Thatcher Demko is making. And you don't think Thatcher Demko could be Jack Campbell if Demko was in Toronto?
Thatcher Demko didn't win the Vezina.
No, but what I'm saying is at the skill level, I would compare Thatcher Demko.
I agree. No, I agree with you.
To Jack Campbell. But
I think part of being an agent is being disingenuous to the fact that my client.
Are you saying that like he starts with 8, but then they trickle down?
And they come down to like.
Then they're going to look at his age and be like,
for God's
sake! No, I don't think
he was going up. I thought you were going up, saying like his minimum value is 8 million, and I'm like, holy shit!
I got what you're saying. He's going to walk into the bargaining room.
Okay.
Give me 8 million on the Vezina winner.
It seems like Mario and I did not like.
I thought he was starting at it like
out of my
office.
No, I thought like you were like I thought that was his starting value. I'm like, okay, like let's just take it easy, man.
No.
All right, and then I'm sorry, Jared. What was the
next? And then the final one? We're gonna finish it off talking about the Rocket Richard, and obviously it's you can't actually predict it. It's predicting the future, but just think about considering team. Try to think of some factors that aren't just this one's good at scoring. Like try to think of some factors and just tell me who by the end of the season, at the way they're producing right now, do you think will end the season as the goal leader?
Ovechkin.
Well,
and you can't go wrong with Ovechkin.
So no. But I'm not saying like I mean, Adamo, you can obviously have a different answer. Like I'm going to. Okay, I mean, you could say there's so many guys because the list is so tight. Close, like I mean, like Matthews is only 1 goal behind, and Draisaitl's tied with him. I just think. I mean, like I'm watching the way that Alex Ovechkin shoots the puck, and it just looks like no goalie has any answer for it. I mean. He shot
for decades at this point.
I know, but
they've had no answer for it.
No. But I'm like, I was watching. I believe it was Washington and Vancouver, and Alex Ovechkin's goal on Thatcher Demko didn't even leave the ice, and it still managed to go in. Like he went 5-hole on arguably a top 7-8 goaltender in the NHL, and it's just because that's how hard and accurate his shot is from his office. But I'll give it to you, Adamo.
Yeah, I feel like Adamo's going to agree with me here. So, what are you thinking?
Okay, well, it's going to be Austin Matthews, but to give a fun name, Alex DeBrincat.
I like it.
I like Alex DeBrincat. The little guy.
Goals, 39 games. I like it.
He's 5th in the league in scoring. He's always been a goal scorer. I can't believe teams passed on him because he's too small. He's too small. I need Igor Korshkov because he's big overager for. Fuck, I hate that, but yeah, and you know what? I got the Blackhawk shirt on. Let's go, Alex DeBrincat.
Mario, what do you think?
We're beating around the bush here. That this guy's a little bit higher than DeBrincat. Chris Kreider's looking nice. He's looking very nice. He's got
No.
guys
Really?
that pass to him.
No way.
Oh no, it's gonna
I'm
be
the,
he's
I'm the
not-
only one who's gonna say
No,
it.
no, I was gonna clear it up. Matthews is gonna win it, but I
Yeah.
have to give you a second name. And you mentioned
Yeah.
Jared, maybe someone who's
Fair.
gonna get the puck. If there's anyone that's gonna be getting the puck, it's
Chris
gonna be the guy
Kreider.
with the guy named Breadman on his side. Chris Kreider has definitely a capability of potting the most goals in the league, but I think Matthews is gonna take the cake 100%. You can't
Can I
go
ask
against
you
him.
guys?
Absolutely.
Can I ask you guys a question? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like biased, but why do you think Matthews is going to win it over a guy like Alex
Well-
Ovechkin or even Leon Draisaitl? Like, I just
Purely his
think
pace.
because all three of the Leaf fans said said
No, but
Austin Matthews.
Ovechkin currently has one more goal. He has 26 goals in 6 more games. Like he has
Okay.
26 goals in 39
Yeah.
games. Draisaitl has 26 goals in 35 games, while Matthews has 25, so 1 less in 6 less than Ovechkin and 2 less than Draisaitl.
Okay.
Like he pace wise, he just
No,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
I
won
was
Yeah.
last year. Like,
That's
he just
that's why.
is the
Well,
best
yeah.
goaltender.
I
in the
mean,
league.
obviously, like the pace that he's playing at now, and then obviously there will be maybe a week where he goes goalless, similar to what happened with Ovechkin. I was just wondering, like,
No, like
what
it's
you're-
not just I'm a Leafs fan, Austin
Yeah.
Matthews. It is they're like looking at stats. He just is the best goal scorer. In the league,
I
and
don't
he
like you guys
continues
know
to
I don't
prove
like
it.
I don't
Yeah.
like being biased to the Leafs. I'll try to like
I
try to
said
separate my
Ovechkin.
bias, but like come on, it's Austin Matthews. And I
Yeah,
think
of
I don't know
course.
if did I tell you guys the Western Conference stat, but I'll share it on the
Oh
podcast.
yeah. That he
Austin Matthews leads all NHL players in goals against Western Conference teams. He
I mean, he's
plays
also
in the
incredible.
East.
Yeah,
It's stupid. It's
He's
so
also
stupid.
incredible on the road.
unbelievable.
I would
Yeah.
say though, like one thing that is a positive, and I hope this does continue into April, is that Austin Matthews is really freaking good on the road.
Yeah.
Like the way that he's able to score in
Yep.
outside of Scotiabank, I think is really, really encouraging. We didn't see this last year.
His ability to score in all sorts of places on the ice. I think that's kind of what stands him alone.
Yeah,
from.
his-
Like
his
I would
versatility.
love to
Even
see the
different than
numbers.
Ovechkin.
I would love to see the numbers of how many goals this year alone. I know he's got almost. There's a big wide percentage of how many goals Ovi has in his career on that side of the ice in his office, as he quotes it. But I would love to
Yeah.
see the numbers this year as well, because
I
Matthews
definitely
can
had his
score from
fair
in
share.
close. He could tip him home. He could snipe him. He could take that slapper the exact same way as in that exact same area, not the exact same way, because decades have shown that nobody could stop that shot from Ovi. But
I don't know how.
I don't
Why
know
does no one-
how.
why does no one
It's
stick a
not
guy on
hard.
Ovi there?
I think I think like to your point, Mario, I think it's just like that's the way that Ovechkin's game has been
Yeah,
built.
100%.
Is the one timer, and Austin Matthews has an incredible slap shot, but
Yeah.
he just doesn't use it because his
Yeah.
wrist shot is just
It's ridiculous.
I don't know how.
It's
like,
as hard as a slap shot.
No, I was going to say even harder. Like I
Yeah.
think Austin, which you can only say about a few players, and I just think it's incredible. But wow,
Yeah,
I just want Ovechkin also because I want him to break
Yeah.
the goal record
100%.
so
Same.
bad.
Yeah.
Like I
he's
want
gonna do it.
I wanna
still
be
ask you guys
alive.
that now. Do you
Yeah.
guys think like he's gonna break the goal record?
Yes, the pace that he's going at right now, he has a 5-year contract. I think
I gotta see the numbers because I
he's
don't know.
100.
He-
Okay, so
He's
the
pretty
pace that he,
close. Like he's
the
getting
pace that
there.
he
Yeah.
needs to go at, like I actually did the research a little while
Yeah.
back. He needs to average 35 goals like each year of the rest of his deal, which is like I believe 5 years after this. He's currently at 26 now.
Yeah, he
he's,
probably
he's
could.
easily hitting 40 the way that he's going at.
I'll probably hit 50.
Yeah, he'll probably hit 50. So that means that like once he's getting into the latter part of
Yeah.
his career, like he only really needs to hit like 20 to 25.
Yeah, he probably does.
And I just
I-
also want to be alive to like tell my
Yeah,
like I
that'd-
just want to
that'd
be
be
there
cool.
to like tell my kids like I saw someone break a record that we
all thought
Like
was
Wayne
untouchable.
Gretzky. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
that we thought was absolutely untouchable.
It's like the old quote goes. I forgot who said it. I think it's a soccer quote, but I'd rather face a guy who's practiced 100 moves than a guy who's practiced one move 100 times. And
Yeah.
that's Ovi's thing. That one
if
clapper,
it ain't broke,
it's
don't fix it.
unstoppable. It is
Okay, so-
Kobe's fadeaway, unstoppable.
I looked at it right now. So Ovechkin's 10 away from being third all time or 11 away from being third all time to get past Yager.
Yeah.
In order to get past Wayne Gretzky, Alex Ovechkin would need 100 and let me see, 130. He would need about like 138, I believe. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, about 138, something like that.
And that is sorry, my parents are now.
Man.
My apologies for that. But
Love
what's
it.
it called? Shoot, what I was gonna ask, how many seasons does he have left? Because for 138, I mean,
Well, here, let me look at
if
his
he's
contract.
if he's putting up 40-ish goals a season, like there's definitely a reasonable argument that he could hit
Well,
it.
yeah, I just think I think he'll hit 40 over the next 3 years, and then I think it's going to die down. But the average that he needs to get will suffice. It wouldn't matter because of those previous 3 years. If you want to, I'll look it up right now. I know I believe he signed a 4-year contract extension. So he had this 5th year, and then he has. Oh no, I'm sorry. He signed a 5-year, $47.5 million deal. So he has.
That's a lot.
So I believe he has.
He has time.
So I believe he has this year plus 5 years.
He'll probably do it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he better do it on home ice. He better do it in front of that Washington crowd.
Imagine it happens against Toronto.
You know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I guarantee you, the coach won't allow that goal to be an empty netter, because I've noticed a lot of empty netters this year. Like, I guarantee you, the goal to break Gretzky's record will
be like a one-timer on the power play.
Will not be an empty netter, because
it's probably a one-timer.
That kind of that kind of just kills the story.
I can only imagine, like, at I think it's called Verizon Center, or I think it used to be called Verizon Center.
I can see fans flooding the ice.
I think like the it'll be the random like second period 1-1 game. Washington gets a power play, and I can just imagine everyone on their feet with their cameras out.
It's going to be the craziest fan reaction, like.
Yeah,
a regular season game.
I want to be alive to tell I saw someone break a record that we said.
I hope it happens.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I really want to get into the trivia.
Can I bring up one more guy for the Rocket? We're disrespecting another Russian, and he's leading the league in goals per 60. Ilya Mikheyev with I had the number in front of me. 2.8 goals per 60. That's in front of Max Pacioretty, Philip Forsberg, some bum named Austin Matthews, Anthony Duclair. Shout out to the Aussie, Nate Walker, Brad Marchand, Troy Terry, Audrey Mangiapane, Bolton's finest, Chris Kreider, Jake Gensel, Leon Draisaitl, Brian Rust.
So what's the contract looking like for Mikheyev next year? What are we getting, like 5 times 9?
Well, it starts at 9. It starts at 9.
No, but here's the thing. It starts at 9, but it doesn't go lower than that.
Oh, no. We're not talking Campbell side of things. We're talking, like...
Ilya Mikheyev, the giraffe, eh?
Yeah, I had to bring him up.
So... Love that you did. Before we close off the show, before we move on to the trivia, the All-Star teams got released. So we want to talk about that a little bit. So I have a little spiel. So finally, with the All-Star teams being revealed a few days ago, I want you to go through each of the 4 divisional rosters and tell me one player you believe was most snubbed. And as well, today, the last man in vote, people were named. So I'm just going to announce those. For the Atlantic Division, it was Steven Stamkos. For the Central, Nazem Kadri, who the fact that he wasn't on the regular team or initially,
well, we can talk about that.
It's ridiculous, but nonetheless, he ended up getting in by a fan vote. The NHL had their bacon saved. From the Pacific, they went with Troy Terry of the Anaheim Ducks, and from the Metro, they went with Mika Zibanejad. However, he went out of it, or he decided not to participate due to personal reasons. So Jake Gensel took his place. So overall, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the selections? And I want you to name one player per team that you still think by the end of it was snubbed.
Okay.
Evan, you ready to go?
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
If you have one ready, I want to make
sure. Do you guys want to go team by team again, or?
Yeah, let's go team by team.
Yeah.
Every NHL team or every
no.
4
teams. All the 4 teams.
Buddy, I meant let's all do I'll start off with the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, we'll start with the Atlantic.
I think we should all I think I speak for everyone when we all say that the one player per team is stupid. Yeah. And I think it's something that I seriously think the NHL is going to look into this after, because I just don't think it's fair for a guy like Brad Marchand, a guy like Aaron Ekblad. So now that I'm talking about the Atlantic Division, I really think that needs to be a topic of discussion, because honest to God, Buffalo is so bad. The fact that they even are worthy of an all-star is just pathetic. And then if you look at Aaron Ekblad, and I know Florida and all that, he's so good. Like, even Hubert and Ekblad carried that offense when Barkov was out for those 10 to 15 games. So I think he's someone. I'll go defense and offense. I'll say defensively, Aaron Ekblad. I'll say offensively, Brad Marchand. But I have the respect there for Steven Stamkos that he has had a great year, given all the cluster that's been going on in Tampa with the COVID and all that, and injuries. So those are my two, defensively and offensively.
Yeah, and I think both are very valid. The fact that neither of those are on the team is simply ridiculous. And I think talking about the fact that there's one per team, I honestly don't think the NHL is going to change it because it's a money-making thing. And while I hate it, I understand it.
You know what's more of a money-making thing? Having Brad Marchand instead of Nick
I agree.
Suzuki.
Having the best talent on the ice, I agree with you. But the businessmen in the NHL, they are going to look at it like, nope.
I just think this was the worst year. This was honestly, I liked it at first, but I think this is the worst year of the All-Star Game, because there's
so many snubs. It's absurd.
You gotta do it like the NBA, man. The NBA does it where the All-Star teams are the fucking All-Stars, and then the skills contest is where you bring one from every team. Like I think Clayton Keller can play in the skill or the stick handling one. I think Phil Kessel, he could probably go in the accuracy challenge.
Yeah, like if we need Arizona
guys.
Skater,
Darlene could probably do fastest skater. Ilya Mikheyev should do fastest skater. Why not?
Why not? McDavid.
You bring up a valid point there. Like, I actually do think, like, obviously they're not going to listen to this, but I do think that they need to separate, like, and then maybe just say, like, you guys are here for the skills, and then you guys are here for the All-Star Game, because ideally the more moneymaker is the All-Star Game itself.
Yeah,
although the skills contest is fun. I love.
No, it is fun. I'm just saying, like,
as a fan, I like the skills contest more. But the ideal situation is that they want the All-Star Game to be this big thing. It's not right now because it's not the best players on display.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I think that's enough there. Moving on to the Metropolitan Division. Sorry, we didn't go through every play. Mario, what do you think about the Atlantic team? Who do you think is your biggest snubs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to overlap a lot with our answers. I think I'm going to go Leafs, Nylander. I think he.
Hey, I think, like, guys, let's try. Like, maybe we can try to like each have different answers.
I'm wearing it too.
There we go.
I did handy for
the reason why I say it is just because he ranked, but he wasn't even on the ballot. Let's be quite honest here. You weren't even able to vote for him, or the league wasn't even able to vote for him, nor was he a last man in. I kind of get why he wasn't the last man in, because Steven Stamkos is right in front of you, but you have to be on the ballot at least. Like, if John Tavares was voted as a last man in, I would not feel as great if Nylander wasn't there. So I think Nylander should have been on the ballot simply because when it happened, he was the team leader in scoring, points, whatever you want to look at it. Right now, he's second in I'm writing an article on it, so I got all the information up for me. But right now he's second on the Leafs in scoring, and I would have loved to see him there. I think he deserved it. I think he was the best Leaf for the majority of the season. I can't give you a defenseman. I think Aaron Ekblad's the blue chip one that you can go to. But no, I'll stick with the forward. I think Nylander should be on that team. And it's just saying that they do it this way with the one per player, but that's the way the business operates in the National Hockey League.
Mm-hmm. And Demo, let's hear from you.
Yeah. Who did you say on offense, Evan?
On offense, I said Brad Marchand.
I'm struggling to find one that isn't Marchand.
Exactly.
Okay, well, guys, like, if we can't, I didn't.
It's gonna be Marchand, but I did have another guy in mind. Sasha Barkov and Braden Point. I think they've both been fantastic this season.
Yeah.
Braden Point's point a game, and Barkov's Barkov.
Yeah, I think that's right. I agree with you. We shouldn't say the same players. I just want to add a point onto the reason why it's stupid that Marchand isn't on the team, because why did they even take Bergeron when Marchand just has more points than Marchand?
How did Bergeron
I don't get the mindset there. Like, it's not even the fact that, it's because one per team. Like, no, they chose someone from Boston. They just chose the wrong players.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that. How did that happen?
Like,
I wonder
Jared,
if they
that actually just clicked in my brain. Like, that actually just clicked in my brain. That, like,
shout it to my TikTok. I literally had a whole
I watched your video, but I forgot. I was like, oh my God, like, there's. Because I don't even think Bergeron's the second best guy on that line.
And he's not even having a great year. No, he's not having a bad season, but he's not having a Brad Marchand season. Like,
Marchand leads the team in goals, assists, and points. Like,
it's not even a reason that it's like, they had to take one from every team. No, they took someone from Boston. They literally chose the wrong guy. So
I'm guessing he said no. I think that's probably what happened. They probably asked him, and he probably said no. There's no reason. And he wasn't even on the last man ballot. He wasn't on the last man.
Honestly, I didn't think it was McAvoy. That's probably it.
Because Marchand also has young children as well. That could be a concern. Because before you can the NHL did say that if you reject it, like, for personal reasons, that's fine. Like, but like you can't get in and then say no
because you get suspended.
Yeah, because you get suspended.
How fun is that?
So
More vacation. Go figure.
So I do think that Adamo brings up a good point in saying it.
Actually, I did think of one player that I also mentioned, Lucas Raymond. I think Lucas Raymond should have gotten in. He currently leads all rookies in points. I know they selected Dylan Larkin, who's sure he has a few more points.
He does.
But it's very close. At least last time I checked, I think Larkin leads in the Detroit point race by like 2. Mm-hmm. When it's that close, give it to the rookie. Like Dylan Larkin's gone to the event before. I give it to the rookie. That's what I would say. Sure. But now moving on to the Metro. Again, we'll start with Mario on this one. Kind of, who do you think is your biggest snub? And I agree. Let's do one forward, one defenseman.
Man, you really put me on the spot. I don't know much about the Metro for like their players that got snubbed. If you give me like 5 minutes, I can definitely.
I got a guy.
If you guys have, I'm not even going to pick a name. I'm just going to say who has an answer for me.
Okay, go Adamo.
I got 2 forward names. I'll say the first one. Actually, should I just say one because it might steal from you guys?
Yeah. Say one.
Just say one.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta look up his stats because the second I don't know which one to say here. Okay, I could say it. Sidney Crosby. He's kind of good. I think he's snubbed. Point a game.
How many games has he played?
26.
Okay, I think that might be.
I think that's a snub.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like I was more obviously Gensel ended up getting in because of
it should have been Gensel. It should have been Gensel.
But like, I definitely was more mad that Gensel wasn't in than Crosby. But it's your answer, so
I will like.
Well, Gensel's in technically.
Yeah, well, he got in, but he wasn't selected. And I'm still kind of mad about it, even though he was
I just think it's I'm not mad about it because Tristan Jarry has been incredible, and when you're just looking from a goaltending standpoint, if they actually took out Jarry, put in Gensel, took out Kreider, and put in Shesterkin, I think that would have been better.
Wait, Shesterkin's not an all-star?
No, he is not an all-star.
That's what I'm saying. Like
he's gonna win the Vezina.
Look, here's the thing. Is gonna get so embarrassed by the end.
Here's the thing.
Brad Marchand wins the heart.
With the All-Star game, though, like as much as it is like another thing to add to your resume, like a lot of guys rather like prefer the break. And I don't know if if Igor Shesterkin being a goaltender, he's been on a tear. Like
was he on the last minute in ballot? No, there was no goalies.
There was no goalies. That's what I'm saying. Like some of these guys could have just said like
he had to have said no.
Because with goaltenders, it's difficult because they want to stay fresh. And like, God forbid something goes horribly wrong at the All-Star game. Like how many times do we hear guys say no? So I disagree with Crosby. I think the injury plays a factor into voting. Yeah. And Jake Gensel has credit to him after not making it, after being an All-Star, I believe it was last year, and then having that gruesome knee injury, he wasn't able to attend. Now he is able, or maybe this was 2 years ago. I apologize, because was there an All-Star game last year?
No, I don't think there was.
No, there wasn't.
But
okay,
regardless,
I apologize. 2 years ago, he had that gruesome knee injury that took him out of being an All-Star, and I felt really bad. So I'm happy he's in it now.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with the rest of this roster, just in terms of grabbing one from each team.
Do you want me to maybe give my second guy? Because Crosby got shit on. I don't know if you're stalling.
First we'll hear on what Mario's thoughts are, and then we'll go.
Oh, you got a guy? Yeah, go.
Do I have a guy? I think we're just all similar, man. It's so hard.
I have a defenseman. I have John Carlson. Why wasn't John Carlson a defenseman?
He's pretty good.
Currently, I believe he's 6th in defensive scoring. He's having a really good year. The main one, of course, that I'm mad about is Igor Shesterkin. Well, I understand the reason is because they needed someone from Pittsburgh. Because like Jarry's the only Penguin selected.
Yeah.
Of course, other than Gensel ended up getting in. But just like, I think they so easily, I would have rathered Shesterkin there as opposed to Jarry. As much as Jarry's having a good season, and credit to him, I think there was other Penguins they could have taken. They didn't need to take Jarry.
No, but I'm saying
he had to have said no.
We could be playing the possibility that he said no. Because how many times
probably said no.
How many times, and Shesterkin, credit to him, like this is a career year for him. He doesn't want it to be derailed by attending an All-Star game. He knows he's an All-Star. His market value knows that he's an All-Star.
Win the Vezina.
or the Vezina.
But it's
like having All-Star game to your resume doesn't mean
shit. No, it doesn't obviously, but it's still. I think it's just it kind of looks bad on the league not selecting going.
But it could just be him.
It could be. Like, we don't know. We're speculating.
Yeah, we're
So,
speculating.
Well, you look at the roster, Carolina and Pittsburgh. It's Anderson and Jari. They both have other players there. So it wasn't like we need a player from this guy, so we stuck their goalie in. It was they actively left him out because Aho and Gensel are on the roster.
Yeah.
But Gensel got in last minute. At the date the initial rosters were selected, Jari was the only.
Okay, well, they picked Anderson.
Only got it because of last minute.
Anderson's in over.
Anderson has Aho as well, but
so
also Anderson's like one of the top like goalies in wins, so he I think deserved.
And then
it.
wait, Damo, you were saying that you were saying you
not over Shesterkin.
Do you want me to give my second guy?
Yeah,
actually,
for sure.
I have two other guys now. I'm just looking at the thing. Okay. I'll go with the guy I had in mind. Andrei Svechnikov. Probably he's not a point a game guy, but he's still an integral part to the Carolina Hurricanes' success this season, being on that first line with Aho. So I'll go with him.
Okay.
Okay, good answer. Let's move on to the Central Division. And does anyone have an answer?
Yeah, I got an answer.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, let's hear it.
First of all, I don't think Joe Pavelski was the choice. I understand the point totals and all that. I just think Jason Robertson, I really give credit to him. I think he deserved it. And if you want to keep Joe Pavelski, then fuck off with Clayton Keller. Like, that's this whole issue that we're having with the one per team. Other than that, I mean, with Nazem Kadri finally making it in, I really have no problem with this roster. I want to give a shout out to Jordan Kyrou, who
an issue.
Oh, okay. You have an issue. All right.
Yeah, you want to talk, and this is actually a big issue. I think it probably just slipped your head. If you want to.
Oh, well, I guess like O'Reilly could have been.
Roman Josi is my big one. But...
Guys, are we serious? Is he on the roster? Hold on, he might be on the roster, and I'm just missing it.
Well, there's only one Blues player, so
no, it's not the Blue guys. Mikko Rantanen. He's
fourth in league scoring. That I do have a problem with. Nathan McKinnon should not be the captain. I don't care that he's the big name player. That is a problem.
Let me just finish 1 second. And then
go.
I was just saying, Kyrou last year had that streak where he was hot. Like, he had like 12 points in 8 games, and then he very much died down. And I mean, just credit to him this year for being consistent, having a great year. And I think all the best deserved to be an all-star. Yeah, I guess, Jared, you can take – I loved hearing your TikTok video about it at Jared Rotenberg. It was great. I loved your insight on why Nathan McKinnon shouldn't have been an all-star, so why don't you?
Hey, Jared, what is your TikTok? Can you give the @? I'd love to follow.
It's just all lowercase, no spaces, just Jared Rotenberg, JaredRotenberg. Follow it up. TikTok takeover. You've heard of Twitter takeover? Get ready for TikTok takeover. But whatever. What I was gonna say is I don't like that Nathan McKinnon's the captain. I think sure he's the biggest name, but in it something like this, I get like it's fan vote. It's
how do they? Is it whoever gets the most votes in that?
I think it's fan related. So of course they're gonna vote Nathan McKinnon. He's the big name on the Avalanche, but I think it's just dumb. I mean, it ends up being the same. Who would you have
given it to?
I'm trying to think. It ends up being the same people every year. I honestly think I'd go with Kaprizov. I think like just the person who's playing probably the best in that division, or Rantanen. Like, there's a bunch of names that shouldn't have been.
Rantanen wasn't even an all-star, which I don't think we're making a big enough deal about. You know, we bitched and complained that Kadri didn't get in, and Rantanen's not even on the last minute.
You gotta like remember though, like Colorado is a very, very, very talented team.
So wagon.
Of course they're gonna have guys that are like not considered, but it doesn't matter because we know how good they are. Like,
obviously, yeah. I don't care about the
we're talking about the team.
No, I get it. I'm just, but Kadri also has more points than Mikko Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen is also on pace for 114 points.
I know, but I'm saying Kadri.
Oh, Kadri's like even better. I get that, but like it's still like if we're just
Mikko
talking snub, it's ridiculous that this guy could. He's putting up heart numbers.
It's unfair that Clayton Keller gets to go to Vegas.
Second time, by the way.
Yeah, it's unfair that Clayton Keller gets to go to Vegas and Mikko Rantanen does not. I just personally think a guy of that stature really does not give a rat's ass.
They don't, but I mean,
It's still nice to have. It's still nice to have.
No, but we're talking about who was snubbed.
Yes.
I don't like that McKinnon's the captain, and like I have
Neither
all
do
the
I.
respect for McKinnon.
I feel like it should be McCarr. I don't know. I think the way they
it could have been.
It
Shouldn't have been McKinnon. Like, there's a bunch of names you could put in the mix that are doing very well in the Central.
Yeah, but I mean, that's nothing that they
it's so, and again, it's a fan vote thing. People are
Yeah.
fans of Nathan McKinnon, but it's just kind of annoying that they did it as a fan vote. Because they obviously, it ends up being the same person every year. Like, McDavid's been the captain of the Pacific like 3 years in a row. Even Matthews, like, sure, great for him. I'm happy he won it. But when I was doing my fan vote, I didn't vote for Matthews. He's
as captain.
Who'd you vote for?
I honestly don't remember, but it wasn't him. I think I went for. I typed in Nylander.
Attaboy.
Because Nylander wasn't even on the voting thing.
So stupid.
Like Matthews, he's been the captain before. I think that's, as much as sure it's not something they care about.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool to do once in your career. Oh, I was the captain of an All-Star team. Let other people do it. Even for the Pacific, I did Draisaitl over McDavid because McDavid's done it a million times.
I also kind of want to see them do a draft. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the NBA's doing it. Do you imagine 4 teams though, and you do it like a fantasy snake order draft?
Like, that would be awesome. Sure,
I think that'd
like,
be sick.
There's so many more ways to get eyes, and you watch the draft. Like, they did it a few years ago.
I have a question for you guys. I have a question for you guys. Would you keep it the same way, like how it used? Like, would you keep it the way where like it's where it's 4 teams, 3-on-3, and let's say you have 4 set captains, and they can just pick anyone from anywhere, but they still have to have like. But here's like the thing: they still have to have like the however many forwards it is, like the 2 defensemen and the 2 goalies.
Yeah. I think you'd have to.
Yeah, I think you select an all-star team rather than.
I think that would be a great marketing value.
Yeah, awesome. I think a ton of people would tune in to watch that. I think you do it more. You choose players per team, like they'd announce just rather than the Atlantic Division team, they'd announce like a 32 team. Yeah. Like, this is their team's logo. These are the 1 or the 2 players on each team that is selected out of the mix that are eligible for this fantasy draft. I think that would be so cool. One
other point, the way that Zoom is operating right now, I mean, it would be so accessible just to have have the 4 captains, like how we're sitting right here, and then just say, this is who I'm picking. And then it could literally be that simple. Yeah, and then just air it.
They'd have banter back and forth with, like, that's what I like about the All-Star game. I don't care about the skills and whatever, or the skills I like. I don't like watching the actual game. But what I like is hearing players mic'd up and them talking.
Yeah.
Hear people that don't know interact.
Let me see Austin Matthews, shake ping pong balls out of his ass again. That was hilarious.
Like, so funny. Do funny media things, and I think there's so much room for kind of a funny. For sure.
Well, let's see what they have.
Like, I think that would be awesome. And the NBA does it, and obviously in general,
awesome.
the NBA is just a bigger market.
It's so good. God, imagine
there's a reason they're doing it right.
Yeah, like imagine guys like Bieksa, or maybe not Bieksa, like the good guys on it. Imagine fucking Bar Down hosting.
No. You know who needs to host the All-Star draft selection?
Who?
These 4 guys need to do it. Kevin Bieksa, Paul Bissonnette needs to be on
nasty,
that.
That'd be good.
Dude, you put Biz there, that would be fucking insane.
I think Gretzky'd be cool.
I was gonna say Gretzky is the
third. I love seeing like a guy like Biz next to a guy like Gretzky. Just them like.
And you know who the 4th one should be from Bar Down?
Jesse.
Yes, Jesse awesome. Pollock. Dude,
RTA's very own.
He would be. I feel like those 4 on a panel doing the All-Star would just be the coolest thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. You want to before we move on to the Pacific, does anyone have any more snubs? One I mentioned was Roman Josi. He's currently 2nd place in defensive scoring. The fact that he wasn't selected, of course, Soros is the goalie, so he deserved to be there. But the fact that they should have had another Nashville Predator.
Could I give kudos to one?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm so happy for Kyle Connor, man. He should be an All-Star every year. And the fact that he's fun, I think he's one of the most underrated goal scorers in the NHL. I mean, like the production isn't there, but I think he has like one of the best shots in the NHL. I hope he does the accuracy shooting contest. But yeah, I'm so happy for him because I'm sick and tired of it being Hellbuck. I was always saying Kyle Connor needs to be recognized, and he's finally getting that.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I'm very happy. Like out of the Winnipeg Jets, when I was even making my predictions, before,
I picked
Connor. It was a no-brainer in my opinion. Like Connor's playing so well, he absolutely deserves to be recognized.
Could you imagine Kyle Connor in Boston instead of DeBrusque?
3 picks.
Oh my God!
With
David Krejci.
With David Krejci defining, but
with Krejci as your center, he would have scored 45 a year. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Boston. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the Pacific, does anyone have any last minute people to shout out, or are we ready to move over to the Pacific Division?
Roll.
No, we're good.
Okay, roll Pacific Division. What's the first name that comes to your guys' mind that was snubbed? Because this division, especially, there are a lot. Anyone have any names?
I got one. You guys talk about growing the game, media stuff, all that jazz, and the guy they leave out is probably my favorite player this year,
Yes.
Trevor Zegras, man. How do you do an all-star game and an all-star festivities, all that jazz without this guy in there? Like it's ridiculous. Like you can bring up so much audience, and I wouldn't like, I don't know, this might sound really absurd, but what if they were to ever make him a captain? Like how would that, like if they did that draft thing that you were talking about? How cool would it be if Trevor Zegras is your captain and you're inviting guys like McKinnon?
Wait, you said the captain of
not McKinnon. Like imagine that. It's obviously
dude, I thought you were talking about the captain of the Ducks. I was like,
no.
I was like, no chance.
I think that'd be great. And like I was thinking as Jared was talking, I think the issue is like Connor McDavid would be a captain. I could imagine Connor McDavid going up there, also always up with my first pick, I'm taking Austin Matthews. He scores goals. And then Connor McDavid, my first pick, Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, Connor McDavid is probably one of the most boring.
So fucking boring. I'd hate to see him as captain.
I would love Zegras. Like,
but I love that idea. Zegras is like captain.
And especially for Zegras, the fact that he's a young kid, that he grew up watching these guys. Now it's like, hey, I've never been in a room with this guy, Alexander. Like he has so much energy, and it's just
he gets at AARP.
Him especially because he obviously he's a young kid just getting into the league now, and he would eat an event like the All-Star Game up. Like he'd love that, just being around all these superstar guys that he doesn't normally get.
We'd see at least 4 Michigan attempts.
Oh, like he'd have so much fun with it. And it's like the superstars, like Ovi would be like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" Like just coming in, like it would be just so much fun. And instead, we just have the same guys every year, and it's just like, sure, those are the All-Stars, but.
We kind of cut you off there. Did you have anyone?
There was no one. I just thought like Trevor Zegras could have gone.
No, I didn't know if you had anyone else.
No, he could have gone to this game. Like why isn't Goudreau swapped out with Markstrom? You throw Markstrom on the goaltending, and your Anaheim Ducks pick is Zegras instead of Gibson.
I mean that's just the way.
They also have Troy Terry.
Well, now with the last man in vote, they have Troy Terry as well.
I think Terry deserved it. I really do.
You can't go on a 16-game streak and not get in.
But from a media perspective, Zegras, you had to have him at the All-Star.
Yeah, I just think
he's just not good enough. That's the issue.
I think it would have been too disrespectful against Troy Terry.
I understand that, but second place in rookie scoring, but no one cares about his points. Yeah. It's personality-wise, like he was made for an event like this. He would bring so many eyes. He'd do so much funny shit with the media, like. Him pulling up to what event was it where he had Baby Yoda?
The Star Wars, he's awesome.
Oh yeah, it was Anaheim Ducks Star Wars night, and he pulls up just with shades on and Baby Yoda and like a baby carrier, and like it's just so funny. Like, he's just such a funny guy. He needed to be at this All-Star game. Like we were actually, I said it word for word on my TikTok. We were robbed of seeing Trevor Zegras at this year's All-Star game and growing the game. Like Mario said, I mean, he does things that no one else does. He attempted that he got that Michigan pass. Like he just. Talk about growing the game. I don't care what John Tortorella says. Like that is how you grow the game.
Yeah.
But in general, what's another name that you guys think was stopped off?
I was watching your video and you were talking about Alex switching out Pietrangelo for Shea Theodore, and the one. I mean, I love Shea Theodore. I have him and Stone as my 1-2 punch in fantasy for the past couple of years now. And I just see the one issue is that Shea Theodore hasn't been healthy. And Alex Pietrangelo has really had to step up, and he has. And although the point total isn't there, the game that he played against Toronto was probably his best game as a Vegas Golden Knight this season. And it could be like throughout the whole year, throughout his career in Vegas. I just think he absolutely deserved it. I have no problem with Kempe just because I want him traded. So I really want that.
More value.
Yeah. And other than that, Jordan Eberle, the picture looks disappointing the picture looks disappointing on the IG, and I'm very disappointed because I rather have a happy Trevor Zegras than a sad, shallow Jordan Eberle. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, for starters about Vegas, what I said in my video is I'm very much understanding why they selected, like it was Mark Stone and Alex Pietrangelo are the two they selected. I mean, one's the captain, one's the assistant. Those are the two biggest names on the team. I understand, especially in a hometown event, you had to take those guys. However, I wanted to give credit, especially the one I wanted to give big credit to was Chandler Stevenson, who the big story with Vegas, the big story with Vegas is the fact that all their superstars were injured for a lot of the year, and he stepped up big time when he had to. He currently leads the team in points. I think it would have been really cool if they found a way to get in there because he deserved to be kind of honored by the Vegas crowd. Like, he deserves so much credit for how he did with that group. And the fact that he isn't there, got no recognition, it's a little bit unfortunate.
Well, and first of all, like, haven't we always seen that common thread where, like, the home team at least has 3?
Yeah, they have so many more.
Like, the
than
fact
usual.
that Chandler Stevenson wasn't even considered for last man is just, it's honestly sickening to me because I think Chandler Stevenson is so much better than Troy Terry.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry. I should rephrase that. He's been a lot more impactful to his team.
That's more
given the situation.
He's been the reason that
Vegas I needed to rephrase that. Yeah. I mean, he's the reason why Vegas is still able to be in first place given the situation this year.
I'd say impact over skill. He's definitely been more
for sure.
And
I just think, like,
skill. Troy Terry's come on.
But even awesome. Vegas, like, they need, like, they always give out 3. Like, it's just that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed anything voting wise, but I was gonna say I remember in particular when it was in San Jose, and I remember there was like
there was 3. They had Pavelski, Carlson, Burns. In Tampa Bay, they had like 5.
Yeah, like there's been years where the hometown team, I don't know, like if they give an extra nod to them because they are the hometown team, but they're always allowed to have more. So I don't know why they were so strict with it, just 2 on Vegas. But regardless, like, I don't know, there was a lot of snubs. The big one I look at is Trevor Zegras, that we talked in length about him. But I just think you had to have him for pure fun reasons, make the event, like bring eyes to the event. You do that by bringing a kid like that. So I think that would have been really cool to see.
Him and Hughes together would have been awesome.
One more?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you have another one to say?
Yeah. I'm going to leave the 2 guys that I was going to say. I was going to say Chuck and JT Miller because they've been fantastic, but no one gives a fuck about defense. The All-Star Game. Let's go with the more fun one. The newest expansion team. I don't think it should have been Jordan Eberle. I think it should have been their 37 goal scorer, Jared McCann. Just rub some salt in the wound. Too. He's on pace for 37 goals this season. He has the highest points per game on the Kraken.
Yeah,
and although he probably get it? I have no idea how. I didn't
even know that guy was still in the NHL.
Like, he's like an average second liner. That's
an example of them Googling Seattle Kraken point totals. He currently sits at first.
Nobody watches the Kraken games besides the color commentator and the play-by-play.
That's so funny.
It's a pure example of literally. Oh, he leads the team in points. Sure. With like 24 points, and I think like
he's a minus 17.
That's bad.
Like, at least Jared McCann's a minus 11.
Yeah.
Like, it's not better. It's not like good, but like, fuck, at least it's better.
And less games. 15 goals in 33 games. That's
solid.
Actually good.
Like, Makar has 16 and 32. I mean, he's a defenseman, but still.
Yeah.
Production.
Yeah. Before we wrap this up, does anyone have any more games or any more names they want to kind of throw out there?
Not really. I don't think so.
I don't know. The Pacific kind of sucks.
Maybe I'm gonna throw in one. Quinn Hughes, just because I really wanted to see him. Hey. I don't even think Jack Hughes should have gotten there. Like, he hasn't played enough games. I think Jesper Brown.
He's been.
But the fact that Jack Hughes is there, I think it would have been really cool to see Quinn Hughes play with him. And as a defenseman, Quinn Hughes, at least offensively, I'm not going to talk about defensively. Offensively, he's putting up, I believe he's at 30 points in like 37 games or something crazy like that right now. He's doing very well offensively, putting up a lot of points, and he's skilled enough that it would have been really cool to see him play there with his brother. I would have liked to see him. But I guess with that being said, if no one else has any names, going once, going twice, if anyone has any last thing they want to throw in there, that'll do it then. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into this edition hosted by me of the Loose Line Podcast. It was a ton of fun. I loved hosting. I'm very happy with how it went. And I'm going to say thank you. Have a great rest of your day.